Chapter 129. Kick you if you get in the way, boss. You're saving the country in a roundabout way. Heh, it looks like Tang Yun's mom has a good impression of you. Kong Xiaobo said as he looked at Lin. Heh, changing the recipe will bring you closer to Tang Yun's mom. I see you eating barbecue all day, and I don't think it's very tasty. You can eat it yourself if you change it up. Lin Yi said as he slapped Kong Xiaobo's head. What are you thinking? Heh, nothing. Kong Xiaobo shook his head. You can eat it yourself if you change it up. Lin Yi shook his head with a smile, not replying. From Kong Xiaobo's point of view, he was pursuing Tang Yun, wasn't he? But Lin Yi didn't explain. He'd already made such a bold statement in front of Tang Yun today, and it wouldn't be right to explain himself. It was lunch break, and the third years were quiet. It wasn't as noisy as the first and second years. Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo stood at the window at the end of the hallway. The March sun was bright but not hot, and it felt warm when it touched their bodies. The trajectory of his life had changed ever since the old man had given him that strange mission. His original self belonged to a tense and dangerous world, but now it was peaceful and warm. Boss, it's Zhou Ruoming with Pinliang, Kong Xiaobo said as he pointed at the basketball hoop. Lin Yi looked over and saw Zhou Ruoming and Pinliang talking about something. Both of them were standing sideways, and Lin Yi couldn't see what they were saying. He didn't have X-ray vision or anything like that, and he wouldn't be able to see what they were talking about. What does Zhou Ruoming's family do? Because of Tang Yun, Lin Yi knew that it was inevitable that he would clash with Zhou Ruoming in the future. Friday was just the beginning. Zhou Ruoming. His father is a real estate developer. He used to be a contractor. I heard that he is very black-hearted and often owes his workers their wages. Kong Xiaobo said, however, Zhou Ruoming's brother, Zhou Ruoguang, is a gangster leader in the northern district. As long as the workers are harassed, Zhou Ruoguang will bring his men to beat them up. After beating them up, the workers don't dare to come again. Oh? You seem to know quite a lot about this. Lin Yi said, curious. Zhou Ruoming wasn't in his class, but Xiaobo knew. Zhou Ruoming always brags about these things. This is also the reason why he is popular in school. Kong Xiaobo explained, most people in school know about his glorious history. This guy isn't afraid that someone will mess with his family. Lin Yi curled his lips. Gangsters? Huaijuan will teach his brother a lesson someday and he'll behave. As they spoke, they saw Zhou Ruoming and Pinliang separate. Zhou Ruoming walked out of the school while Pinliang walked towards the building. In fact, Zhou Ruoming only wanted to confirm Lin Yi's background with Pinliang. Zhou Ruoming couldn't just let it go like that after what happened on Friday. If he didn't get his revenge, he wouldn't be able to stay in school anymore. He wanted to talk to his brother, Zhou Ruoguang, and see what he should do. Lin Yi and Xiaobo returned to the classroom to find Meng Yao and Yushu watching their MP4S as usual. Pinliang, on the other hand, had moved a chair to sit beside Meng Yao, a silly grin on his face. Who knew if he'd be able to understand the animations on the MP4S? Yushu pointed at Pinliang when she saw Lin Yi. Lin Yi realized that he and Yushu were getting more and more in sync. If she weren't Meng Yao's best friend, Lin Yi wouldn't mind flirting with her a little. It'd be a worthwhile trip for him. Yushu thought that Pinliang was too annoying, and she couldn't chase him away no matter how hard she tried. Since Lin Yi came in, Yushu used Lin Yi's hand to chase Pinliang away. Lin Yi smiled and nodded, walking quickly to Pinliang. Pinliang seemed to have sensed that Lin Yi didn't come with good intentions, but he sat there, not thinking about what reason Lin Yi had to deal with him. Pinliang didn't think that he'd offended Lin Yi in the past few days. Lin Yi didn't care what Pinliang thought. He walked over and kicked the leg of the chair Pinliang was sitting on, flipping it over and sending Pinliang sprawling on the ground. Don't block the way. Lin Yi didn't even look at Pinliang as he stepped over him. Silence. Deathly silence. Although the classroom was originally very quiet during the lunch break, there were still people whispering. But at this moment, everyone raised their heads and looked at the scene in front of them in astonishment. Before Lin Yi transferred, Pinliang was the bully in the class, but everything changed after Lin Yi came. The scene in school made everyone respect Lin Yi, and what happened today made them feel that Lin Yi was a spoiled brat. Just because he was in the way, And that wasn't even a reason. He sent Pin Liang sprawling on the ground. Who in the class, or even the school, would have the guts to do that? Even Zhou Ruoming, one of the big four, wouldn't be this arrogant, right? Lin. Pin Liang's eyes flashed with hatred. He didn't want to give up. He wanted to jump up and fight Lin. But he didn't dare. Pin Liang clenched his fists tightly, his heart filled with humiliation and helplessness. Lin, just you wait, Zhou Ruoming will take care of you. You can be arrogant for a few days first. Pin Liang quietly got up from the ground, put his chair back on his seat, and sat back down. Meng Yao looked at Lin Yi's back in shock. This guy was a natural-born violent maniac. That kick was fierce, but it was stylish. Men like this gave her a sense of security. Yao Yao, did you notice that Shield Bro is really handsome? Yu Shu gave a thumbs up, admiring Meng Yao. Shu, are you charmed by him? Meng Yao saw Yu Shu's infatuated expression and felt a little uncomfortable. Hee, a little, but don't worry, Yao Yao, I won't fight with you. Yu Shu giggled, your choice is my choice, you. Meng Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she knocked Yu Shu's head. She didn't know what Yu Shu was thinking. Why was she still so passionate about the past? Was it because of Lin Yi, or was it because of her? Meng Yao didn't know, it was just a weird feeling. Was it you who made Lin Yi do that? Meng Yao whispered. You saw it? Yu Shu blinked. I didn't do it for your own good. It's so annoying to see him laughing like an idiot. You beat him, but Shu, you need to watch your image. If Lin Yi keeps doing this, he'll probably be expelled in a few days. Do you think he has a strong background like everyone else? Meng Yao smiled bitterly. Chapter 130. Chapter 130, Kang Xiaobo's family. As the saying goes, bad news travels 1,000 miles. Even in the neighboring Class 9, Lin Yi's amazing feats were spreading like wildfire. Tang Yin wanted to take a nap at noon, but she couldn't. Her mind was filled with Lin Yi's despicable smile. She rubbed her sore temples and the corners of her eyes, which were red from crying. She lifted her head, wanting to read a book when she heard someone talking about Lin Yi's name. Tang Yin's heart tightened. She didn't know why she was concerned about the name. Was it because she was afraid that people would talk about Lin Yi chasing her? Did you know? When I went to the washroom just now, I saw the new transfer student from 12th grade class 5 kick Pin Liang's chair over. Pin Liang fell flat on his back. The boy beamed with joy as he told his classmates about what he had seen and heard. Do you know why? Because of what? A few students who were listening to the side asked. Life in the 12th grade was simple and ordinary, so the occasional exciting news was enough to keep everyone happy for a while. That's because the transfer student said Pin Liang was blocking the way. He's going to kick him next time. The boy said as if he was Lin Yi himself. Don't you think he's amazing? That transfer student's name is Lin Yi, right? He's so handsome. A girl who was a bit infatuated interrupted. Didn't you guys see him last week? He single-handedly beat up that gangster who was holding a gun. This kind of man gives me a great sense of security. There's no way he'd like someone like you. You're so slutty, you don't even know how many people you fucked. Another girl humphed coldly. I'm more like him. Get lost. Being looked down upon, that wind asterisk was immediately displeased. Why don't you take a look at your crooked appearance? You're not even as good as me. From what I see, if there's a chance, only Tang Yun is worthy of it. Tang Yun was using a book as a cover as she listened in on the conversation nearby. She couldn't help but curl her lips when she heard Lin Yi kick Pin Liang's chair over. He was still a playboy after all. It hadn't even been 2 days, and now he was showing his true colors after being provoked by her. Just as he was feeling disdainful, he heard someone mention him and even said that he and Lin Yi were a good match. He couldn't help but feel a little annoyed, but he couldn't get up to refute it. This kind of thing, the more he tried to explain, the worse it would get. His annoyance toward Lin Yi grew. Lin Yi didn't know that his glorious deeds had spread. When he returned to his seat, he saw Kang Xiaobo giving him a thumbs up. Lin Yi didn't care. Study hard. Let's see what you can do if you can't get into a university. Hee, I'll start reading now. Kang Xiaobo smiled bitterly. Man, if my family was like second grandpa's family, I wouldn't have to study so hard. I could be a playboy too. Lin Yi heard Kong Xiaobo talk about his family for the first time. Your second grandpa? What kind of person is he? Is he powerful? Powerful? Kong Xiaobo's lips curled up in disdain. He's just a scumbag who took someone else's stuff to get rich. He basically doesn't have much contact with our family anymore. Oh. Lin Yi could tell that it was a family feud. You know Dr. Kong, right? Kong Xiaobo said. Dr. Kong? Lin Yi frowned. Why did it sound familiar? However, he suddenly remembered that when he was in the pharmacy a few days ago, he heard the salesperson say, "The Dr. Kong who sells Jinchuang medicine?" And that's him. Kong Xiaobo nodded. He is my second grandpa. Then aren't you also a rich second generation, a rich third generation? Lin Yi was a little surprised about Kong Xiaobo's family background. What rich second generation and rich third generation? Kong Xiaobo smiled bitterly. My grandpa is my grandpa, and my second grandpa is my second grandpa. Now it's two families. My family is very poor, working class, I guess. Family feud? Asked Lin. You could say that. The recipe for Jinchuang medicine belonged to both my grandpa and my second grandpa. My second grandpa wanted to use the recipe to build a factory, but my grandpa didn't agree. That's how the conflict started. Kong Xiaobo explained. My second grandpa seems to have stolen the recipe and built his own factory. The two families fell out after that, and now, your grandpa sure is stubborn. You can't blame your second grandpa for being greedy if he doesn't want to make money with something this good. Lin Yi nodded. If it were me, I'd probably choose to make money too. However, this incident reminded Lin Yi of something. The recipe was worth a lot of money. His medicine and Huaijuan's painkillers could all be produced and sold. The profits would be huge. And this was something that needed to be researched. He wanted to see if he could find someone to work with and earn some money. It wasn't right to keep using Mingyao's family's money. It was like living off a woman. That's what I was thinking, actually. Kong Xiaobo stuck his tongue out. My second grandpa stole the recipe, and I asked my grandpa if he knew what ingredients were in the recipe. He said he'd forgotten about it after looking at it. Man, there's nothing I can do about it. I'll have to work hard myself. You're pretty open-minded. Lin Yi looked at Kong Xiaobo in a higher light now. So what if I don't? Looking for trouble? What's wrong with you? Kong Xiaobo said helplessly. All I can do is sigh sometimes. All right, boss, I'm going to go read. Dr. Kong. Recipe, Lin Yi frowned. There had to be more to this than meets the eye, but Kong Xiaobo didn't say anything about it. Maybe he didn't know much. But it wasn't as simple as it seemed. Lingshan was going crazy. The robbers were hiding really deep, and they were in a mountainous area. It was a lot of inconvenience for the search. The business car with the license plate number 74110 was found, but the license plate had been broken. From the characteristics, it could be determined that this car was the robber's car, but it was useless. Lingshan had no choice but to call Huaijuan's number. Captain Yang. Lingshan was a little embarrassed to speak. Song, it's about the robbers, right? Huaijuan guessed that it was about the case. Yeah. I don't have any leads, Captain Yang. Lingshan said awkwardly. Song, I'm not that good at solving cases, actually. I'm just careful, that's all. This is different from a normal bank robbery. It involves Peng Zhan and Meng Yao, so the kidnapping is their main goal, robbery is secondary. Huaijuan said. These people are organized, and I'm afraid rushing them won't work, especially with how tight the situation is right now. Their superiors will tell them to hide as well, Lingshan wasn't expecting Huaijuan to be helpless. Chapter 131. Lingshan, troubled Huaijuan's reminder reminded Lingshan that the suspect had been missing for a couple of months before being arrested. Captain Yang, you're saying? Lingshan wasn't sure. This case can wait. When the suspect lets his guard down. Huaijuan said. You won't be able to rush it otherwise. Captain Yang, but I've already signed a military order with Captain Chen. Lingshan said, troubled. She wouldn't have signed a military order if she'd known that the case was this complicated. Wasn't she just asking for trouble? I see. Huaijuan was speechless. Ling Shan really was brave enough to take responsibility for her doing, even he didn't dare do something like this. This case was complicated, and the interests involved weren't as simple as they seemed on the surface. Who is Peng Zhan? He was a member of the Provincial Political Consultative Committee, a celebrity entrepreneur in the province. Not only did he have a wide network of contacts, but he was also friends with the military's House Jin. Someone dared to touch his daughter with a background like that, and it went without saying that this person's background and power were beyond imagination. Normal people would be looking to die if they dared to touch Peng Zhan, but people who dared to touch Peng Zhan's people had to be on an even higher level. Even with Huaijuan's family background, they wouldn't want to mess with someone like that. This was a very difficult case to handle. Song, you're a little too hasty with that military order, Huaijuan said. There was no point in pouring cold water on Ling Shan right now, but he had to at least give her some time to prepare herself. Someone who dared to touch Peng Zhan's daughter, you should know what kind of person this is, right? This is a conflict of interests on an even higher level, and those robbers are just pawns. They're not hard to deal with, but the people protecting them are. At the very least, it'll be very hard for us to find the robbers before we lose their protection. Once this blows over and these people give up on the robbers, it'll be easy for us to find them. Ling Shan was a little reckless, but she wasn't stupid. She understood what Huaijuan was saying. She shouldn't have signed a military order with the director at all. She should have just told the director about it, and the director wouldn't give her a hard time. But the order had already been made, and it wouldn't be appropriate for her to say something like that. No matter what, Ling Shan had to hold on. Captain Yang? Then Ling Shan didn't want to give up halfway. Even if she missed the appointed time, it wouldn't be a big deal, and the director wouldn't really do anything to her, but her position and reputation in the police station would drop as well. If you really want to solve the case, then listen to me and ask Lin Yi. Maybe there will be unexpected results. Huaijuan gave her a reminder, but it wasn't up to Huaijuan to decide whether or not Lin Yi would help her. Lin Yi? Can he help me? Ling Shan didn't think much of it the first time, but the second time, she knew that Huaijuan wasn't the type of person to say things he didn't mean. He wouldn't say things he didn't have any evidence to back them up. Maybe. Huaijuan smiled. If he really wants to help you. I understand. Thank you, Captain Yang. Huaijuan's words were very clear, and Ling Shan, naturally, didn't want to keep asking. She hung up the phone with a frown on her face. Just who was this person? According to Li Fu, this was a follower hired by Peng Zhan to play with the miss, or perhaps a personal bodyguard. The fact that he was able to bring Meng Yao out of the kidnappers without a scratch meant that he had some skills, but would he be able to help Peng Zhan solve the case and arrest the kidnappers? And why was Captain Yang trying so hard to get this person? Just what kind of ability did this person have to make Captain Yang take a liking to him? All of a sudden, Ling Shan remembered something strange. That day when she brought Lin Yi to the police station, they bumped into Huaijuan on the way, and Huaijuan acted like he'd seen a ghost. He'd gotten all excited when he saw Lin Yi, calling him Eagle nonstop. Lin Yi didn't admit to it, and even mocked Huaijuan, but the two talked for a long time in the office afterward. She asked Huaijuan about it afterward, and Huaijuan didn't say anything, only saying that he'd released Lin. Ling Shan didn't think much about it at the time, but now that she thought about it, Huaijuan's attitude was a little strange. Huaijuan wasn't a reckless man, so what kind of person did he think Lin Yi was to make him so emotional to the point of losing his composure in front of Ling Shan? From the looks of it, there had to be something wrong with Lin Yi, but she didn't know about it. Huaijuan didn't tell her about it either. Huaijuan only helped her when she was in trouble. Ling Shan felt a wave of bitterness when she thought about Lin, asking her to beg him? With their relationship now, it'd be good enough if Lin Yi didn't mock her, let alone help her. She'd never offend him in the first place if she'd known that he was useful. Ling Shan hesitated for a long time before deciding to increase her search efforts. Asking her to beg Lin Yi was the same as killing her. She could imagine how much Lin Yi would mock her. Lin Yi hadn't been nice to her since the first day she met him, saying that she'd gotten in through the back door. If she went to beg him now, wouldn't he say that she was useless, and that she'd gotten in through the back door? She couldn't even solve a case, and now she had to ask for help? What happened at the hospital only deepened the conflict between the two. She just wanted to teach him a lesson, but who would have thought that it'd turn into a flirtatious drama? She really regretted it. Lingshan sighed. Why was she so unlucky? She was the instructor of the Rampage Special Forces, and yet she'd fallen into the hands of a little man. How embarrassing was that? Wouldn't her old comrades and students laugh their heads off if they knew that Instructor Song was being looked down upon? That wasn't even the second. The most frustrating thing was that she'd grown up in the compound, and all the boys around her had always been obedient to her. She'd never been taken advantage of like this before. Asking her to beg Lin Yi was the same as lowering her head to Lin Yi. When had she ever lowered her head to anyone? Lingshan was conflicted, and so she vented her anger on her underlings, ordering them to increase their search efforts day and night. They had to find the culprit. Chapter 132. The Tang Mother and Daughter. Tang Yin patted her chest as she looked behind her worriedly. Thank goodness that evil person hadn't come after her, or she wouldn't know what to do. Yin, school's over. Mrs. Tang was lighting up the grill with charcoal. The 12th graders were out of school at this time every day, and there was still a lot of business. Put your bag down and help Mom. The 12th graders finished school late, and it was already past lunchtime. Most of them would buy something to eat before going home for dinner. Why are you so happy today? Is business good? Tang Yin asked, surprised to see her mother in a good mood. Lin Yi said that he has a recipe for New Orleans barbecue. He'll give it to me tomorrow to improve our barbecue. Business will be good then. Mrs. Tang couldn't hold back the joy in her heart. I heard that you elementary school kids like New Orleans barbecue. Our business will definitely be good. Tang Yin's face changed at the name. He's here again? He came for lunch with his friends. Mrs. Tang didn't notice the change in her daughter. He's a good boy, he doesn't have the bad habits of those rich young masters, and he's very polite. Him? Tang Yin curled her lips in disdain. Mom, he's up to no good. What are you talking about, kid? What do you mean by, up to no good? He's helping us out of goodwill, how can you talk to him like that? Mrs. Tang was getting angry. He's up to no good? Why would he be? He's a rich young master in our family, what could he possibly want from us? Tang Yin felt wronged as she bit her lips so hard that it almost bled. Her pretty face was filled with unwillingness. Mom, can't you tell? He wants to be friends with me. Tang Yin decided to be straightforward and let her mother see the evil side of Lin. It was a little embarrassing, but at least her mother wouldn't be tricked by that evil person. Making friends? That's a good thing. I think Lin Yi is a good kid. You should interact with him more. It'll be helpful for you. Mrs. Tang glared at her daughter. Maybe his family knows someone. Help your father find someone, and the factory will pay the compensation. You little girl, you don't know anything. Don't you understand the ways of society? Didn't Wang Jiaming in the factory just cut off a piece of flesh from his finger on the lathe? What kind of injury was that? However, the son-in-law's uncle was a small leader in the street office, and the factory director, Sun Laifu, that bastard, compensated him with 10,000 yuan in medical expenses and even visited him. Look at how easy it is to get things done with connections. Mom. Tang Yun felt even more wronged. She didn't think that her words would cause her mother to complain so much. But her mother was telling the truth, how could Tang Yun not understand? However, how could her mother understand the lives of these rich young masters? Playing with women was as normal as changing clothes. Why would they help with the trivial matters of their own families? Not to mention making friends, even if it was, that wouldn't it be of no use? Mom, don't tell me you forgot about Xiaofen? That person said that he would help Xiaofen's family. What about now? Tang Yun didn't argue with her mother. How can that man be compared to Lin Yi? He's far from it. Mrs. Tang snorted. I said that the man had shifty eyes and was just a hooligan. He doesn't know how to show off just because his family has some money. I even told you to stay away from him. Your mother has lived for so many years. I can tell who's good and who's bad. Tang Yun was speechless. It seemed that her mother was tricked by Lin Yi's act. She was actually speaking up for him. You girl, you're stubborn. You're just like me back then. You can't see the ways of the world. When I was in the factory, I was also the flower of the factory. At that time, the workshop director introduced his son to me. I didn't like that kid. Instead, I fell in love with your father, a skilled worker. What happened in the end? Mrs. Tang didn't wait for Tang Yun to speak. She started lecturing again. The workshop director's son opened a travel agency. He earns a few million a year. Look at your father. No one cares for him when he's injured. I have to work myself to death every day to support the family. Why can't you understand? If I could choose again, I'd definitely choose the workshop director's son. I'd be a rich wife. How can I work myself to death every day? Her mother's words made Tang Yun silent. Indeed, her mother's words were very sophisticated. But Tang Yun didn't blame her anymore. What kind of woman would take care of the household by herself? During the day, she had to set up a stall outside to support her husband's medical expenses. At night, she had to take care of her paralyzed husband. She couldn't even sleep when her husband was asleep. She had to prepare the ingredients for the barbecue stall the next day. It was no wonder that her mother had such selfish thoughts. However, Tang Yun didn't agree with her mother's thoughts. A woman shouldn't rely on a man, right? Through her own hard work, she could make a name for herself. She could give her family a good life. Alright, Mom. I'll stop talking. If you want his recipe, then take it. I don't care anymore. Tang Yun didn't want to make her mother angry. She lowered her head and started helping her mother. Then tomorrow, go to his class and get the recipe. Don't forget to thank him. Mrs. Tang sighed after seeing Tang Yun's reluctance. You girl, it's not like you'll die if you say a few good words to him. Tang Yun was busy arranging the meat skewers when she heard her mother's words. Her hand trembled, and a skewer fell to the ground. What are you doing, you stupid girl? Why are you so careless? Mrs. Tang's heart ached. That was 1 yuan. She quickly picked it up and put it aside. I'll wash it later. I'll barbecue it for your dad tonight. Usually, the family wouldn't bear to eat the barbecue skewers themselves. They would only give it to Mr. Tang if they couldn't sell it or if they weren't fresh. Tang Yun and her mother wouldn't bear to eat it. Mom, I don't want to get it. Can't you just ask him to bring it himself? Tang Yun didn't want to go to Lin Yi. Asking her to go to Lin Yi herself? What was wrong with that? Mrs. Tang almost died from anger at her daughter's words. He gave us the recipe and you want him to bring it himself? What are you thinking? Do you think he owes you? But Tang Yun lowered her head and pouted. She was unhappy. Girl, if you don't want to go, I'll go tomorrow. Mrs. Tang said helplessly. Chapter 133. A bus encounter. Tuesday morning, Lin Yi had a date with Huaijuan, so it wasn't a good idea for him to take Faubert's car. Lin Yi didn't want Huaijuan to know about his current situation, and the fact that the godlike eagle in their eyes was playing house with the miss. It was quite embarrassing, and Lin Yi felt like he'd been tricked by his old man at home. Was this mission going to last him the rest of his life? Lin Yi still didn't know what he was planning to do. Besides, Kang Xiaobo was suspicious of him when he was on the bus yesterday morning, and things were bound to go wrong if things went on like this. It wouldn't be a big deal for him, but it was hard to say if the two girls would say anything about it. And so, Lin Yi left a note for Meng Yao and Yushu after making them breakfast, saying that he'd be leaving first, and that he wouldn't be taking Faubert's car. Lin Yi wasn't very good at walking after leaving the villa district. He looked left and right, but there wasn't a single taxi in sight. Lin Yi was speechless, as expected of a villa district. Who didn't have a couple of cars here? It'd be weird if there were any taxis waiting to pick up passengers. Lin Yi had no choice but to walk on foot. He walked quite a distance, and finally found a bus stop at the end of the street. There was only one bus here, a sightseeing bus or something. There wasn't a stop for Songshan's first hi on the bus, and it seemed like he'd have to ask after getting on the bus. The sightseeing bus was quite fast, and it didn't take long for it to arrive. Lin Yi got on the bus, paid the fare, and asked the driver. As expected, there weren't any stops for Songshan's first hi, and they weren't on the same route. He'd have to change to the 87 bus at Jingtai Market to get to Songshan's first hi. There weren't many people on the sightseeing bus, and Lin Yi guessed that it wasn't going anywhere. The fare was expensive too, and the other buses were 1 yuan. When they arrived at the Jingtai market, Lin Yi alighted from the bus and looked at the bus stop. Indeed, there was a number 87 bus sign. Compared to the previous villa district, there was not a single person at the station, but there were many people waiting for the bus. There were men and women, young and old. It seemed that they were all going to work or school. Every time a train stopped, there would be a group of people squeezing onto it. But even so, the number of people on the platform did not decrease. It seemed that there were more people waiting for the train. After waiting for a while, an 87 bus finally arrived. Lin Yi followed the crowd and boarded the bus. The number of passengers on the bus was obviously several times more than the previous loop bus. Lin Yi found a seat near the door and didn't squeeze in. Who knew if there would be more people boarding the bus later? If they couldn't get off the train when they arrived at the station, it would be a bit unlucky. The bus stopped at the slums area. This was one of the old districts that hadn't been renovated yet. Most of the people living here were poor. They all lived in single-story houses. Lin Yi looked out of the window and was surprised to see Tang Yun's figure. She was wearing a clean school uniform and a canvas backpack. Her whole body was slender and elegant. Under the morning sun, her beautiful black hair had a leaf-shaped hairpin that shone with a rainbow light. It gave off the vibe of a manga girl. It was filled with a strong school style. It made Lin Yi's eyes light up and he couldn't help but want to get close to her. Tang Yun also wanted to take the 87 bus, but she boarded from the front door. After getting on the bus, she tried her best to squeeze in, but there were too many people on the bus. How could a girl like Tang Yun have that much strength? She squeezed a few times, but she couldn't get in. Instead, the passengers in front rolled their eyes at her. If it wasn't for the fact that Tang Yun was a pretty girl, they would have cursed at her. Why are you running? Where can you run to? I've finally caught up to you. Why aren't you running now? Lin Yi was wondering why Tang Yun was squeezing into the car when he heard a young man behind Tang Yun flirting with her. He even wanted to get his hands on her. It was noisy in the bus and there was a front door and a back door. However, Lin Yi's hearing was sharp and his attention was on Tang Yun. He heard it clearly. Frowning, Lin Yi guessed that Tang Yun was being harassed by some gangster. This was an old city, and it was normal to have some young gangsters with nothing to do. Judging from his tone, it wasn't the first or second day that he'd been harassing Tang Yun. It seemed that even beauties had their troubles. A commoner school beauty might be a joke, but it was completely different from Meng Yao and Yushu. Meng Yao only had to worry about Zhong Pingliang's harassment every day. She didn't have to worry about gangsters harassing her. Tang Yun, on the other hand, was different. She was born pretty, and she was probably being targeted by the unemployed. Since he was here, Lin Yi wouldn't just leave it be. He quickly parted the crowd in front of him, displaying his agility and strength. The people he parted didn't even know what was going on before Lin Yi squeezed through them. At this point, all the passengers had boarded, and the door was about to close. Lin Yi grabbed the gangster behind Tang Yun with his left hand and threw him out of the car without saying a word. Then, he let go of his left hand and the door closed. Tang Yun watched in shock as Lin Yi squeezed his way through the bus and threw the gangster off the bus. She didn't know what Lin Yi was doing in this bus. Tang Yun thought that her eyes were playing tricks on her. Why was she seeing this evil person? Didn't people pick him up every day? It wasn't until Lin Yi tossed the gangster off the bus and turned around that Tang Yun was sure that the person in front of her was Lin Yi. Why are you being harassed by people like this? Linist. Tang Yun pouted. She didn't know how to answer. Wasn't he asking the obvious? Tang Yun wanted to say, "Why are you harassing me?" But she didn't dare. Lin Yi was scarier than the gangster. What kind of person was he? He could stop the door from closing with one hand and throw people out with the other. No wonder Zhong Pingliang and Zhou Ruoming didn't want to mess with him. This guy was a violent maniac. The people on the bus looked at Lin Yi in horror. The ones who had been squeezed by Lin Yi before wanted to complain, but seeing how tough Lin Yi was, throwing people off the bus like that, they all kept their mouths shut. No one wanted to be the next one to be thrown into the air. The driver wanted to nag about how Lin Yi almost broke the bus door, but he didn't dare say anything. Who wanted to mess with someone like this? He started the car quietly and drove away, ignoring the gangster who fell on the bus stop. Chapter 134. To lose one's head. Fuck. Who threw your grandpa out? Do you want to die? I'll fuck you up. The young man got up from the platform, rubbed his butt that was hurting from the fall, and cursed fiercely at the bus that was going away, causing a group of young and old men on the platform to burst into laughter. Laugh? What are you laughing at? Do you want to die? The young man was embarrassed by the laughter. He turned around and glared at the crowd before leaving. On the bus, Tang Yun ignored Lin Yi, lowering her head and not making a sound. Who knew what she was thinking? Lin Yi stood on the side, letting his imagination run wild as he breathed in Tang Yun's youthful scent. Lin Yi had to admit that Tang Yun was outstanding. She was almost 1.7 meters tall, taller than Meng Yao and Yushu, and her body was even more well-proportioned. She was comparable to Wang Xinyan on the train, but her temperament was completely different from Xinyan's gentleness and gentleness. Tang Yun had an unyielding arrogance about her, but for poor girls, the prettier they were and the better their grades were, the more pride they had. From Lin Yi's angle, he could see Tang Yun's smooth, black hair, her neck, and the patch of white skin below. He couldn't see the details, but it made her even more alluring. Tang Yun kept her head down, not saying a word. Lin Yi, on the other hand, enjoyed the silence, enjoying the satisfaction of both sight and smell. At the next stop, more people boarded the bus. The morning bus was packed to the brim. Most of the passengers got off the bus at the last few stops. Previously, the number of people on the bus increased as they boarded. The crowd squeezed Tang Yun and Lin even closer, pressing against each other. Tang Yun let out a yelp as her soft chest pressed against Lin Yi's. Lin Yi was secretly pleased at the sudden chest attack, but at the same time, he felt that it wasn't right of him to do so. Tang Yun was pushed over by someone else, but Lin Yi didn't want to take advantage of Tang Yun in a situation like this. He'd be no different from the young man from before. Tang Yin wanted to move her body away, but there were too many people on the bus. She didn't have the strength to squeeze back. Her struggle made it seem like she was rubbing her chest against Lin Yi's body. The weird feeling made her blush. She thought about how unlucky she was today. In order to get rid of the young man who harassed her, Tang Yun went around in circles with him in the slums, causing her to be late. Otherwise, Tang Yun would leave early every day. Although there were no seats on the bus, it wouldn't be this crowded. Today, not only was she almost late for school, but she also coincidentally bumped into Lin Yi on the bus. "Don't move, I'll open up a space for you," Lin Yi said as he put his arm around Tang Yun and moved her towards the window. Tang Yun shuddered as she was embraced by Lin. She wanted to resist, but seeing Lin Yi's clear eyes and his intentions, she couldn't help but shut her mouth. Did he really want to help her? She could only hope that was the case. Tang Yun was protected by Lin Yi to the window. Lin Yi suddenly used his arm to open up a space for Tang Yun, and the two separated. Although Lin Yi was reluctant, he didn't like this way of taking advantage of others. Looking at Tang Yun's unwilling look, she wouldn't feel at ease even if she took advantage of others. The people on the bus could only glare at Lin Yi's actions. The bus was already crowded, and he still wanted to open up a space to please his girlfriend. Wasn't that a bit immoral? Someone wanted to blame Lin. Of course, these people came after they got here, and they didn't know about Lin Yi's glorious actions. They were just about to speak up when a kind-hearted person next to them stopped them. "Don't stand up, there was a young man just now, and he threw him out of the car." The person who wanted to stand up quickly shrunk his head. What a joke, it was better not to provoke this kind of person. He could open up a space because he was strong and capable. Why should they care about it? However, Lin Yi and Tang Yun's current position was a bit ambiguous. Other than this special environment, if it was in any other place, Lin Yi's embrace would look like a scene of a hoodlum teasing a female student. Tang Yun lowered her head, and her heart wasn't calm. She was a bit nervous and a bit surprised. Lin Yi really didn't take advantage of her further. This was a completely different person from the evil person in her heart. Such a good opportunity, why didn't he take it? If it was before, it would be better. She had already laid her cards on the table yesterday, and he didn't need to pretend anymore. But today, Tang Yun scolded herself for being stupid. Wasn't it better if he didn't take advantage of her? Was it only right for this evil person to take advantage of her? As more and more people came up, Tang Yun felt that the car was getting more and more crowded, but the space Lin Yi used to protect her didn't change at all. Tang Yun was a bit surprised. She looked over and saw that Lin Yi's back was about to emit smoke, and his arms were about to squeeze out people's lives, but Lin Yi still maintained the same position as before. There was no change at all. She knew that Lin Yi was strong, but being protected like this still made her feel a little uncomfortable. They were both young masters of rich families, but even Fin's boyfriends wouldn't do something like this, right? Tang Yun suddenly felt that Lin Yi wasn't that bad after all. No, how could she think like that? Lin Yi had to be putting on an act to make her lower her guard and slowly break down her mental defenses. Yes, that had to be it. She couldn't fall for it. Tang Yun didn't look at Lin Yi anymore. She lowered her head, but her mind was blank. We're arriving at Songshan's first high school. Please get ready. The next stop was Songshan's first high school. It's time to get off. I'll protect you as you squeeze out, Lin Yi said to Tang Yun. Oh. Tang Yun nodded slightly, her long eyelashes moved slightly. It was obvious that her heart wasn't calm at all. Just like before, Lin Yi held onto Tang Yun's waist, carefully protecting her as they squeezed out. But without the support of the window, Tang Yun couldn't avoid being squeezed into Lin Yi's arms. Smelling Lin Yi's manly scent, Tang Yun was so shy that she was panicking. Her body was stiff, and she didn't dare to move. She was like a zombie, hopping and hopping as she followed Lin Yi towards the door. Phew! Lin Yi let go of Tang Yun after they finally got off the car. He let out a breath of relief. This was much more tiring than squeezing in the car by himself. Chapter 135. Who was stalking who? Could it be that after she reprimanded him, he changed for the better? Did he give up on hitting on her? But that shouldn't be possible. The most important question was, why would Lin Yi be on the bus? Didn't he have a private car? Did you sit in the same car as me on purpose? Tang Yun asked the question in her mind. On purpose? Lin Yi smiled bitterly as he rubbed his nose. I got on the bus first. How was I supposed to know that you'd get on at the slums? Do you think I can predict the future? Lin Yi subconsciously touched the jade pendant on his chest. He really could predict the future. It was just that the prediction wasn't very powerful and he didn't know what it was. He couldn't read the signal, so he didn't know what it meant. Tang Yun blinked at Lin Yi's response. She was right, she got on the bus after him. How could he be so sure that she'd get on the same bus? Even if he knew that she'd take the 87 bus, there was no way they'd coincidentally bump into each other, not to mention that she'd been late to get rid of that little gangster. Could it be that Lin Yi had found that little gangster to stall for time so that he could act out a hero saving the damsel in distress? Tang Yun found the thought laughable. She could tell that Lin Yi wasn't someone who would do something like that. He was an arrogant guy, after all, and wouldn't do something like that. That little gangster had been pestering her for a long time, and Lin Yi hadn't transferred yet. It was almost impossible. Oh. Tang Yun nodded, accepting Lin Yi's explanation. The two really did bump into each other by coincidence. Is there anything else? Lin Yi saw Tang Yun standing in front of him. He didn't know what she wanted to do. Tang Yun froze as she looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. You're not looking for me? Tang Yun was still a bit afraid of Lin. She was protected by Lin Yi on the bus the whole time. She didn't know if Lin Yi would continue to pester her after they got off the bus, but she didn't expect Lin Yi to ask her if there was anything else. Why would I look for you? Lin Yi was also stunned, and then he smiled bitterly. If you say a few more words, you'll be late. Tang Yun looked at her watch and stomped her foot angrily, glaring at Lin Yi as she ran towards the school. Her face, however, was as red as a fire. Lin Yi's words made it sound like she was pestering him. Wasn't it because he was afraid that he wouldn't leave? Previously on the bus, the little good impression she had of Lin Yi also disappeared without a trace, leaving only endless anger. Looking at Tang Yun's ponytail swaying in the wind, Lin Yi smiled. Youth, it's good. Tang Yun ran to the school gate panting and almost bumped into someone who was leaving. She quickly dodged to the side and saw that it was Zhou Ruoming. Motherfucker, who doesn't wear their eyes when walking? You almost bumped into me. Ruoming cursed at the top of his lungs, but it was only after he'd finished that he saw Tang Yun standing by the door, looking a little scared. A smile appeared on his face. Ah, Yun, I'm sorry, I thought it was someone else. You're welcome to bump into me if I knew it was you. How about we bump into each other? Tang Yun heard Zhou Ruoming's words and her face darkened. Zhou Ruoming, don't talk nonsense. Hey, what nonsense? I'm not talking nonsense. Zhou Ruoming had an evil smile on his face. There were usually a lot of people at school, so he wouldn't be too out of line. But now that it was past school time and there were no people at the gate, Zhou Ruoming couldn't hold it in anymore. Yun, have you thought about it? Do you want to be friends with me? You get out of the way. Zhou Ruoming blocked the door, and Tang Yun couldn't get in. She could only force him to move. Promise me and I'll get out of the way. Ruoming said with a lascivious smile. Tang Yun bit her lips at Zhou Ruoming's shameless behavior. This guy was even more shameless than Lin Yi. If it were Lin Yi, he wouldn't force her like this, would he? The moment she cried or felt wronged, Lin Yi would definitely leave. Or maybe she'd just step on his foot and stop him from moving away. What's wrong with me? Zhou Ruoming was like an invincible bully in the cosmos, fully displaying his evil nature. Brother, I'm very strong. If you don't move, I'll call in it. Tang Yun couldn't stand Zhou Ruoming's perverted eyes and words. She didn't know why, but Lin Yi's name slipped out of her mouth. Zhou Ruoming's perverted expression froze when he heard the name Lin. He looked around subconsciously to make sure that Lin Yi wasn't there, and started acting cocky again. He had been planning to get his brother, Zhou Ruoguang, to teach Lin Yi a lesson, but before that, he was still afraid of Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi's slap and the basketball had traumatized him. Fuck, don't use Lin Yi to scare me. Who do you think he is? Your protector? Zhou Ruoming didn't see Lin Yi and started acting tough again. Where is he? Why don't you call him out? Do you think he's your bodyguard or a master? When he comes out, I'll fuck him. Who do you want to fuck? Wang Jifeng was in a good mood after having sex with his mistress. He was patrolling the school when he heard someone yelling, "I'll fuck him," in front of the school gate. He panicked. Wasn't this a slap in the face? Saying such words in front of the dignified academic affairs dean was simply courting death. Zhou Ruoming jumped at the sudden words as well. He turned around and saw Wang Jifeng looking at him with a dark face. He was stunned. It was impossible for him to not be afraid of the dean. Songshan's first school wasn't like the other schools. It was a private school with a strong background. The dean had the power to expel students. Zhou Ruoming didn't want to be expelled. Tang Yun let out a sigh of relief when she saw Wang Jifeng. She didn't know what else Zhou Ruoming would do to her otherwise. Dean Wang. Zhou Ruoming smiled carefully. I wasn't just yelling. It's just that I'm under a lot of pressure from school. I'm just venting. Venting? Why don't you go home and vent with your dad? Wang Jifeng frowned. Although Zhou Ruoming's dad was a big shot, Wang Jifeng didn't care about him. The dean of Songshan's first school was a lucrative position. There were too many people in the society who didn't have a child. It didn't matter how capable your parents were. You still had to have a good relationship with the dean and the principal. Chapter 136. The couple, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for me to treat you to tea? Jifeng said, giving Zhou Ruoming a shove. He was the dean of a private high school, after all. Plus, Songshan's first school had a strong background in the province, and was managed by the province. Even the local education bureau couldn't do anything about it. Yes. Zhou Ruoming quickly snuck away. This Jifeng wasn't someone he could mess with. After Zhou Ruoming left, Tang Yun was still standing there, unsure if she should leave with him or not. She didn't dare to leave before Mr. Wang told her to. She stood there cautiously. You're Tang Yun, right? Jifeng's serious face turned into a smile. You didn't get bullied, did you? No. Thank you. Tang Yun shook her head. That's good. If that Zhou Ruoming kid bothers you again, tell me and I'll take care of him. Jifeng said. Let's go, I'll send you to class. You're late, the teacher might scold you if you go in like this. Tang Yun didn't think that Jifeng would be this nice to her. Was this the same dean who'd scolded her and told her to go to the broadcasting room for a self-reflection? He was afraid that the teacher would scold her for being late, and was willing to send her to class. Tang Yun was a top student and the teachers wouldn't scold her if she was late, but with Wang Jifeng escorting her, it was a different story. The teachers wouldn't say anything, they'd just think that the master had something to do with the student and that was why she was late. Let's go, huh? Ji Feng nodded with a smile. She was Lin Yi's girlfriend, after all, and he had to be nice to her. Otherwise, he'd be in big trouble if the kids spilled the beans. Oh. Tang Yun was flattered. It was only a day, but the treatment was completely different. Could it be because of Lin Yi? Was that why the dean was so nice to her? Thinking of this possibility, Tang Yun remembered the scene of Lin Yi and Wang Jifeng chatting happily yesterday. Maybe Tang Yun was a little annoyed. Why was her life so smooth just because she had something to do with him? Could it be that his hard work was not as good as his relationship with a young master? Tang Yun was wrong. If Lin Yi didn't have something on Wang Jifeng, even if he was introduced by Faubert, Wang Jifeng wouldn't be so careful and wouldn't care about Tang Yun's business. But now, he did not dare to ignore it. Jifeng had received a call from Lin Yi saying that he was going to Captain Yang's office in the morning to give his statement. Huaijuan had told him about it yesterday, so Jifeng didn't ask too much about it. But the key was that Lin Yi wasn't in school. If his little girlfriend was teased by someone, then what if this guy got anxious and told him what he saw? Wouldn't he be finished? I'll tell you my phone number. If someone harasses you again, call me. The more Jifeng thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. He passed the phone to Tang Yun. What if Zhou Ruoming came back after he left? Tang Yun didn't know what to do. This treatment was too good, wasn't it? She had been in school for 3 years and had never heard of Jifeng giving his phone number to a student, telling them to call him if they had any problems. Was it because of Lin Yi again? Tang Yun was annoyed and said something irrational. What if Lin Yi harasses me? Jifeng paused and smiled bitterly. You don't have to look for me if you two quarrel. In front of Tang Yun, he didn't need to act like he was the dean. Lin Yi knew everything about him, so there was no point in acting. Couple? Tang Yun almost fell to the ground. She and Lin Yi were a couple? The problem was that it was Jifeng who said it. Alright, I'll walk you in. Jifeng didn't say anything else since they were already in front of the classroom. He knocked on the door. Tang Yin was a little speechless. The stern image of the dean in the past was completely different from today. Was this still the same Dean Wang who'd flown into a rage when he found out that boys and girls were being intimate in the school grounds? The homeroom teacher quickly opened the door when she saw the dean knocking. Dean Wang, what's the matter? Oh, nothing. I'm here to send Tang Yun here. Jifeng pointed at Tang Yun. She's a good student, not bad. When it comes to treating students well, as a teacher, you should be more lenient and give your students some freedom. Don't interfere too much with her personal affairs. Wang Jifeng gave Tang Yun's homeroom teacher a hint. What if she found out about Tang Yun and Lin Yi? She'd interfere, and that brat would use Wang Jifeng as an excuse. So Wang Jifeng made it very clear. Tang Yun's homeroom teacher paused. What was the relationship between Tang Yun and Dean Wang? Why would Dean Wang talk to her like that? Because of Tang Yun's good grades, the homeroom teacher treated Tang Yun well. But with the dean's special attention, things were different. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. Jifeng nodded and turned to Tang Yun. Call me if you need anything. Bye, Dean Wang. Tang Yun's mind was a mess. All she could think about was the couple Jifeng mentioned earlier. Damn it. Did Lin Yi say something to Dean Wang? Did Dean Wang misunderstand? But what was Lin Yi's background? Why would Dean Wang side with him? What happened this morning reminded Tang Yun of an important problem. It wasn't like Ruoming and Pin Liang didn't have any background, and Wang Jifeng didn't treat them kindly. Wouldn't they be like mice in front of a cat if they met Wang Jifeng? But Lin Yi was different. Tang Yun was starting to doubt her guesses. Was it because of Lin Yi's background? That didn't seem to be the case. Could it be that Lin Yi had another side to him? Returning to her seat, Tang Yun took out her textbook but couldn't focus. Her mind and heart were filled with the scene of Lin Yi protecting her on the bus this morning and Jifeng's weird words. Why was she so unlucky? Why did she have to meet a guy like this right before graduation? Was she unable to escape from his palm? Tang Yun sighed in disappointment. What made her speechless was that even her mother was bewitched by this person. Tang Yun suddenly remembered something important. Her mother told her to ask Lin Yi for the recipe today. She was so nervous and panicked that she forgot about it this morning. When she got off the bus, she was confused by Lin Yi's words and didn't ask for the recipe on the way. Chapter 137. So it's you. Lin Yi pulled out his phone and dialed up Huaijuan as he watched Tang Yin run off. Old Yang, where are you? Lin Yi asked as the call connected. I'm at Wangjia Alley, behind Yizhang. I say, Lin Yi, what did you call me? Old Yang? Why does it sound so weird to me? Huaijuan said. You can call me Junzi or Hound, but don't call me Old Yang. Do I look that old to you? Alright, I'll call you Junbro then. I'm younger than you outside, so calling me Junzi isn't very appropriate. Lin Yi said. I'm here at the bus stop in front of Yizhang. I'll be right there. Huaijuan said. A police car stopped in front of Lin Yi a while later, and Huaijuan poked his head out of the window. Getting it? Lin Yi nodded as he got into the passenger seat. Huaijuan started the car up slowly. You don't say, the medicine you gave me is really effective. I don't feel any pain at night after taking it for a day. You think it's a miracle medicine? I'm a god. One day and it doesn't hurt anymore? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It's just a psychological effect, I think. A little, but it's much better. I can sleep without the painkillers. Huaijuan said. It's just a little painful. That's more like it. It was for sure that the pain had lessened, or all of Lin Yi's medicine would have been for nothing. But it was bullshit to say that it would be better in a day. Even Lin Yi wouldn't believe it. But why didn't you take the painkillers? I was thinking about holding it out for a bit. Plus, it's not good to keep taking the painkillers, is it? Huaijuan explained. Who told you that? Lin Yi was speechless. There's no side effects, it's just to support you. Fine, it's up to you if you want to hold it out. Fuck, why didn't you say so earlier? Huaijuan cried out in regret. The pain from last night had lessened a bit, but it was only a tiny bit. Heh. Lin Yi shrugged. I thought that hounds wouldn't be so stupid. You bastard. Huaijuan could only accept his bad luck. Right, did Song come looking for you? Little Song? Lingshan? Lin Yi guessed that the Song Huaijuan was talking about was Lingshan. Why is she looking for me? Isn't it because of the bank robbery? She couldn't find the suspect, and she made a military order to solve the case in 15 days. Huaijuan smiled bitterly. She asked me for help, but I didn't have any good ideas. So I asked her for help. You don't blame me, do you? That won't happen. You want me to help her find someone? Lin Yi narrowed his eyes. Even if Huaijuan hadn't brought it up, he'd have to deal with this sooner or later. Peng Zhan had made it clear that Meng Yao was an important part of his mission, and if something were to happen to Meng Yao, there'd be no point in his mission. Naturally, Lin Yi had to get rid of any potential threats. It was just a couple of bank robbers. Lin Yi didn't care about them at all. They were just small fries, and he'd leave them to the police. Lin Yi was more concerned about Sihua Bro. Just who was this guy? Everyone in the squad knows that the enemy you've set your sights on won't be able to escape. Pray that the eagle has set its sights on rarely ever escapes. Huaijuan said with a smile. Poor Song, he transferred from the army to the civilian sector. He's always trying to get recognized for his achievements, but he's met with a case like this. Ah, I see that you're quite sympathetic. Lin Yi said with a smile. It can't be helped. I've been a cop for a long time, and I've seen too many things. I've gotten sentimental. Huaijuan nodded. I don't care if you two have that kind of relationship or not, I've said what I need to say. You decide. We'll talk about it when she comes looking for me. She hasn't come looking for me yet, anyway. Lin said. The car drove into Songshan Medical University, heading straight for the family villa area. The person who treated you, he's from this university? Lin Yi suddenly remembered someone. Guan Shuemin, the one who'd given him his name card back at the bookstore. He seemed to be the dean of one of the departments in this university, and Lin Yi wondered if Huaijuan would know him. Yeah, he's a really good old man, and he's got a really good reputation both in the country and abroad. But when he saw the prescription you gave me, he was really excited, especially when he heard that I'd gotten better after drinking the medicine you gave me. He pushed everything away this morning, waiting for you at home. You make me sound like some big shot. Lin Yi said with a smile. Then let's hurry up, we shouldn't keep the old man waiting. Lin Yi had a lot of respect for the old man, even if his medical skills weren't as good as Lin Yi's. That was only because he hadn't been taught by the right person. His old man Lin was practically a cornucopia of Eastern medicine. He'd heard that he'd spent most of his life in the Miaojiang region of Yunnan, linking Eastern medicine and Eastern medicine together. It was also during that period that he'd met his master. The old man wouldn't talk about this part of history much, only talking about it when he was drunk. Lin Yi could tell that the old man and his master were friends who'd gone through life and death together. As a result, Lin Yi's medical skills and kung fu skills were a huge advantage. He'd be nothing more than a normal person if it weren't for this old man and his master. After careful registration, the car entered the neighborhood and stopped in front of a villa. "We're here," Huaijuan said as he got out of the car and pressed the doorbell. Lin Yi followed behind as he studied the surrounding villas. It seemed that the people living here weren't ordinary people. It didn't take long for the door to open. The door could be controlled by remote control, but the owner of the villa still came downstairs and opened the door himself, standing there solemnly with a respectful and solemn expression on his face. Lin Yi looked at the owner of the villa in surprise. The owner, on the other hand, froze at the sight of Lin Yi, a look of disbelief on his face. "You're..." The young man stared at the young man in disbelief. "Elder Guan, it's me, we met at the bookstore," Lin Yi said politely with a smile. "Nice to meet you, Elder Guan. Thank you for coming to pick me up personally. So, it's you?" "I knew it." The old man looked at Lin Yi in shock. "I underestimated you back then. I'm really sorry, but it doesn't really matter if you don't study at my school." Chapter 138. Former Comrade. Chapter 138. Former Comrade. "June bro, I met President Guan once at the bookstore." Lin Yi smiled as he explained to Huaijuan. "We were discussing medical stuff back then." "Oh, right, I was thinking about your treatment plan when I got back from your place, and there were a few things I couldn't quite remember. I left my reference books at home, so I went to the bookstore to look them up." "So you know Grandpa Guan? That's even better, saves me the trouble of introducing you." Huaijuan breathed out in relief. He'd accomplished his task of introducing Lin Yi to Lin Yi, and the two would only get along better now that they knew each other. Huaijuan didn't think much of Lin Yi's words, but Guan Xuemin was shocked by what he heard. He'd thought that Lin Yi must have come from some hidden herbal family at such a young age, and that it'd be normal for him to have lost a couple of ancient prescriptions. But Lin Yi going to the bookstore to look up information and write a prescription for Huaijuan was a little shocking. This meant that the prescription was written by Lin Yi himself, and not a ready-made one. Just this alone was enough to show how much knowledge Lin Yi had in Eastern medicine. But he didn't even know the properties of the medicine, and he had to go to a bookstore to look it up, and he was giving it to someone else. Wasn't he a little too brave? Huaijuan believed him and used it. Just what was the relationship between these two? Guan Xuemin was a shrewd man, and he could tell from the subtle gestures and attitudes of Lin Yi and Huaijuan that there was a close relationship between the two, but he couldn't guess the specifics. It seemed that Lin Yi's medicine was indeed effective on Huaijuan, and that was what shocked Guan Xuemin the most. It seemed that Lin Yi wasn't relying on his family's prescriptions, but that he really was skillful. Today's meeting was something to look forward to. I'm sorry. Guan Xuemin shook his head, a little embarrassed. "Back then, I even asked you to apply for my Chinese medical academy. There's no one in the academy who can teach you. You should be our teacher." Director Guan, you must be joking." Lin Yi replied politely, "What I know is just some unorthodox things. After all, my main profession is not studying traditional Chinese medicine." "What? Don't you study Chinese medicine?" Guan Xuemin was even more shocked by Lin Yi's words. He even thought to himself, is this kid trying to show off in front of me? Huaijuan's illness was something that countless specialists couldn't do anything about, and yet you cured him so easily? Isn't Eastern medicine your main profession? However, seeing the sincerity on Lin Yi's face and connecting it to Lin Yi's words in the bookstore that day, Guan Xuemin had no choice but to believe what Lin Yi said. "Yeah, I'm a 12th grader right now," Lin Yi said, scratching his head. "Actually, June bro knows about me, right?" Huaijuan didn't know what to say. There was no way he could tell Guan Xuemin about Lin Yi's condition. He looked at Lin Yi troubled. How was he supposed to tell Guan Xuemin if he didn't? Lin Yi didn't want to hide anything from Guan Xuemin anyway. He was the one who'd been treating Huaijuan's injuries all this time, so he had to know how Huaijuan got injured and what kind of job Huaijuan did in the past. He wouldn't have been able to come up with the most effective treatment plan otherwise. There was no need to hide anything from Guan Xuemin. Besides, fighting alongside Huaijuan was only a small part of his life. Guan Xuemin, Jun Bro, and I used to be comrades. Comrades? Guan Xuemin paused at the word, his expression changing abruptly. Xuemin knew what Huaijuan used to do, and Huaijuan's comrades in arms were. Lin Yi didn't look more than 20 years old, did he? He'd said that he was a 12th grader right now, and he was Huaijuan's comrade? Wasn't this a little too miraculous? Guan Xuemin finally understood why Huaijuan had dared to drink the medicine Lin Yi gave him. He didn't know that Lin Yi was a miracle doctor, but the friendship and trust they'd built through battle wasn't something ordinary people could compare to. How did Lin Yi turn into a high schooler again? Guan Xuemin didn't know what was going on, but he didn't ask for the details since it might be confidential information. So you and little Yang are comrades? Look at me, all I can do is talk. Come in, let's talk inside. Guan Xuemin realized that he was still blocking the entrance of the villa and hadn't invited anyone in. This was also because he was too shocked. Otherwise, Guan Xuemin wouldn't have made such a low-level mistake. It's fine. Lin Yi smiled. You don't have to be so courteous, Mr. Guan. Jun Bro would have lost his life if it weren't for you. I should be the one thanking you. You don't have to be so courteous with me. You're an elder, and I'm a junior. There's no need to be so polite. There's no such thing as seniority, Guan Xuemin said with a wave of his hand. I'm old enough to understand that. Your medical skills are better than mine, and you're the expert in front of me. You're a teacher, and nothing can be accomplished without rules. Besides, Yang's elder is a good friend of mine, and it's only right for me to do my best. Ah, that's different. Jun Bro's one of my people. Of course I have to thank you. Lin Yi said as he followed Guan Xuemin into the living room. HM? Guan Xuemin blinked at Lin Yi's words. What do you mean by, one of your people? Guan Xuemin was a bit older than Guan Xuemin, but he was still paying attention to the news on the internet. A chill ran down Guan Xuemin's spine when he heard Lin Yi say that Yang Huaijuan was one of his people. There couldn't be something going on between the two, could there? But Yang Huaijuan wasn't someone like that, and Lin Yi didn't look like that either. What did he mean by that? Both Huaijuan and Lin Yi thought of something at the same time when they saw the weird look on Guan Xuemin's face. Huaijuan understood what Lin Yi was getting at, but Guan Xuemin didn't. Huaijuan explained with a bitter smile. Grandpa Guan, Lin Yi used to be the captain of our squad, and he's famous for being protective of his subordinates. We're all his people? Ah? Mr. Lin's your captain? Guan Xuemin was even more surprised now. It seemed that Lin Yi was right. Eastern medicine wasn't his main profession, after all. He was good in other areas as well, or he wouldn't have become Huaijuan's captain. Chapter 139. A shocked Guan Xuemin couldn't help but look at Lin Yi deeply at the thought. He felt a little ashamed of himself for acting like an old man. But then again, medical students were all brave people. It was understandable that Guan Xuemin's thoughts were avant-garde. Ah, I did for a while. Lin Yi nodded. Naturally, I'd like to thank you on behalf of my team. I won't stand on ceremony if that's the case, Mr. Lin. Please come to the study. I've got some medical questions I'd like to ask you, Mr. Lin. Guan Xuemin said. Call me Lin Yi or E, Mr. Lin. It's a little awkward. Lin said. Not exactly teaching but sparring. All right, I'll call you E then. Don't call me Dean Guan, call me Grandpa Guan or Elder Guan. I'm a little embarrassed calling me Dean. Guan Xuemin didn't act pretentiously. He was Huaijuan's elder in terms of seniority, and Lin Yi was in the same generation as Huaijuan. Calling him Grandpa Guan wasn't a bad thing at all. Then I'll call you Grandpa Guan. Lin Yi said casually. Lin Yi wasn't an arrogant man. He'd return the favor 10 times over. If you're polite to me, I'll respect you even more. The two entered the study. Huaijuan didn't know any medicine, so there was no point in going in. He was only here to introduce Lin Yi to Lin Yi, and there was nothing left for him to do now that his mission was complete. Grandpa Wang Lin, you guys talk, I'll watch some TV outside. Huaijuan said, standing at the door instead of going in. That's fine, just treat it like your own home, get anything you want to eat from the kitchen. Guan Xuemin nodded, knowing that Huaijuan wouldn't be interested in a place like this. Guan Xuemin's study was filled with a scholarly aura. There were long bookshelves on both sides of the room, filled with medical books ranging from Eastern medicine to Western medicine, from thread-bound manuscripts to original works in foreign languages. I've made a fool of myself, Xuemin said with a smile as he saw Lin Yi looking at the shelves. Most of these books are flashy but useless. It's fine to buy them and look at them, but it's hard to learn anything from them. The Yellow Emperor's canon is fine, though. I read it when I first started. Lin Yi nodded as he pointed at the books on the shelf. The Yellow Emperor's Canon of Internal Medicine is indeed one of the few remaining gems in Chinese medicine, Guan Xuemin nodded. But it's a pity. Pity? Lin Yi asked, confused. Grandpa Guan, what's a pity? It's a pity that out of the 11 medical classics recorded in the annals of Han Dynasty, only the inner canon of the Yellow Emperor remains. Guan Xuemin said regretfully, the inner canon of the Yellow Emperor is already so impressive. I wonder how good the others are. Lin Yi smiled faintly as he looked at the pained expression on Guan Xuemin's face, not knowing what to say. According to the 7 classics recorded in the book of Han Yi Wenji, the Yellow Emperor's Canon of Internal Medicine, Bian Kei's Canon of Internal Medicine, Bian Kei's Canon of Internal Medicine, Bai's Canon of Internal Medicine, Bai's Canon of Internal Medicine, and side chapters existed alongside the Yellow Emperor's Canon of Internal Medicine. Guan Xuemin didn't notice the look on Lin Yi's face. The glory days of Eastern medicine would have been just around the corner if all of these were still around. What a pity, what a pity. Ah, I've read the Bian Kei's Canon, Lin Yi said after a moment of hesitation. First of all, he had a good impression of Xuemin, and secondly, the treatment plan for Yang Huaijuan was based on an example from Bian Kei's Canon of Internal Medicine. It'd be hard for Lin Yi to explain if Xuemin were to ask about the theory behind it, so he might as well use Bian Kei's Canon as an excuse. You've read the Bian Kei's Canon? Guan Xuemin was crestfallen. It was only natural that he'd lost his composure a little. He'd reached the peak of Eastern medicine, and it'd be very, very difficult for him to take another step forward. After all, there were no other books he could refer to, and he couldn't rely on himself to figure things out. He blinked when he heard Lin Yi say that he'd read the Bian Kei's Canon. It's not a fake? A fake version of Bian Kei's Canon of Internal Medicine had appeared before, but it was later proven to be the real Bian Kei's Canon of Internal Medicine. Guan Xuemin had also read it. Although the contents were good, it was a bit of a stretch to call it a divine medical book on par with Huangdi's Canon of Internal Medicine. I read some of it from an elder when I was young. Lin Yi nodded. Junbro's condition is quite similar to an example from the Bian Kei's Canon. I'm just extending some of the information from the book, and that's how I came up with the prescription. Lin Yi's words were a way of explaining that the book he'd read wasn't a fake, and Guan Xuemin understood that as well. He'd read the fake copy himself, and there was no mention of Huaijuan's condition. Really? Guan Xuemin was a little excited. Can I take a look? Guan Xuemin smiled bitterly before Lin Yi could say anything. I'm sorry, I lost my composure a little. It's your elders. It's only natural that I wouldn't show it to others. I was being rude, Yi. I hope you don't mind. It's nothing. Lin Yi smiled. This elder was naturally his old man. He had brought back a huge pile of rare ancient books from the Miao village in Yunnan. It was said that a trader of the Miao village called Elder Yu had collected them in order to practice his evil arts. In the end, Elder Yu was killed by his Shifu, and Elder Yu's belongings were split between his Shifu and his old man. I'd like to ask Grandpa Guan to take a look if there's a chance. Lin Yi wasn't a stingy man. Xuemin hadn't healed Huaijuan, but Huaijuan would have died if it weren't for him. Huaijuan wouldn't have made it this far, and Lin Yi had always been grateful towards Xuemin. Really? That's great. Guan Xuemin was a little excited, but thinking that Lin Yi was just being courteous, he couldn't just let it slide, could he? Guan Xuemin had heard of the existence of lost medical books in some hidden traditional Chinese medicine families. However, he had only heard of it and had never seen it before. Guan Xuemin naturally assumed that Lin Yi's elder was from some hidden house after hearing Lin Yi's words. How could he have the nerve to look at someone's family heirloom? So he hurriedly said, "If it's difficult, then forget it. It's fine. It's fine." Lin Yi could make the decision, and his old man wouldn't say anything with his Shifu backing him up. "I'll bring it back with me the next time I go home." "Ah? How can I?" Guan Xuemin jumped in fright. How could he just take something like that around? What if he lost it? Even if it was a photocopy, it couldn't be passed around. "If it's convenient, I'll go with you." Chapter 140. Greetings as a teacher. Chapter 140. Greetings as a teacher. Guan and Lin Yi moved on to the topic of traditional Chinese medicine. There had been a few academic problems he'd stumbled upon, and he'd asked Lin Yi just to give it a try. But Lin Yi's answers had been an eye-opener for him, and he'd realized that he'd been a frog at the bottom of a well. Lin Yi hadn't answered many of his questions directly, but they'd been enough to enlighten Guan Xuemin. Guan Xuemin was grateful, and he admired Lin even more. It looked like Lin Yi's answers were just like a sparring session. He didn't reveal the answer directly, and instead kept beating around the bush. But Guan Xuemin knew that Lin Yi was giving him pointers like a dedicated teacher, patiently guiding his student. Not only did he give the student the ability to think independently, but he also encouraged the student's confidence. Lin Yi's pointers allowed Guan Xuemin to quickly figure out his doubts. What he'd come up with on his own was naturally different from what Lin Yi had said. And so, even though he didn't say it out loud, Guan Xuemin had already assumed the demeanor of a student. He sat there respectfully, and even listened to Lin Yi's words respectfully. In the end, Guan Xuemin even straightened his back like an elementary schooler. It had been so many years, he'd forgotten what it was like to listen to a teacher's lectures. He'd always been the one teaching the students. But now, it was as if he'd returned to his student days. His respect for his teacher, his thirst for knowledge. It was as if a lifetime had passed since then. Knock, knock, knock. The knocking on the door pulled Guan Xuemin back to reality. However, he'd already treated Lin Yi like a teacher. "I'll go see who it is, Mr. Lin." Guan Xuemin asked Lin Yi for permission before opening the door like a student. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He turned back to Lin Yi, but he knew that he wouldn't be able to live with himself if he called him Lil Yi again. It was Huaijuan, who'd been waiting outside for a while. It was past lunchtime, and Lin Yi and Xuemin hadn't come out yet. He waited for a while longer, worried that something might have happened. "Grandpa Guan? It's past lunchtime, you and Lin?" Huaijuan sighed in relief upon seeing that everything was fine. "Is it already past dinner time?" Xuemin looked at his watch. It was already 1 in the afternoon, and sighed at how time flew. He'd wanted to continue asking Lin Yi for advice, but Lin Yi had to eat, even if he'd forgotten to eat or sleep. He'd already wasted the entire morning, and there was no telling if Lin Yi would be free in the afternoon. Xuemin naturally didn't want to drag this on. "Let's go get something to eat then?" "Grandpa Guan, don't you have any patience in the afternoon?" Huaijuan asked, a little curious. Guan Xuemin had patience every day, but he'd pushed it off for the entire morning in order to wait for Lin Yi's arrival. It was almost afternoon now, however, and he might not make it in time for lunch. "I still can't not eat." Guan Xuemin had wasted Lin Yi's time for the entire morning. He'd feel bad if he didn't treat Lin Yi to a meal, but he did have patience in the afternoon. Elder Lu had promised to come over in the afternoon. "Oh, since Grandpa Guan still has patience, we won't eat first. Brother Jun and I will go out and eat something," Lin Yi suggested, noticing Guan Xuemin's awkwardness. "Grandpa Guan, you wouldn't mind if I came over for a free meal next time, would you?" Of course, you're welcome." Guan Xuemin was overjoyed to hear that Lin Yi would be coming over again. He knew that Lin Yi was saying it on purpose. "I'll have my granddaughter make some dishes the next time I come. Yang's tried them before, they're just as good as the ones at the big restaurants." Ah, of course. I'll be looking forward to it then. Lin Yi nodded before heading downstairs with Huaijuan. Guan Shuemin was about to send them off when Lin Yi stopped him. Grandpa Guan, I won't come over next time if you keep being so polite to me. All right, I won't be sending you off then. Guan Shuemin knew that Lin Yi was joking, but he still stopped in his tracks. A black Audi A8L stopped in front of the villa just as they were getting into the car. Lin Yi saw a few familiar faces in the rearview mirror. Wasn't that the old man and his son and daughter-in-law he'd met on the business street the other day? Were they here for Guan Shuemin as well? Lin Yi, however, had no intention of going over to greet them. The old man was a nice person, but his daughter-in-law was too weak, and his son was a good-for-nothing, always acting like a yes-man in front of his wife. Lin Yi would have looked down on the old man if it weren't for the fact that he still managed to explode at the end. You know them? Huaijuan asked as he watched Lin Yi looking at the people behind them through the rearview mirror. Nope, only met them once. You know them? Lin Yi didn't talk about what happened on the business street. There wasn't much to say. I've only met them once too. House Lu from Yanjing, it's a big family. The old man's called Lu Zhenhu, and the middle-aged man with him's called Lu Tianyi, a high-ranking official in Yanjing. That woman's his wife, and they're from a big family as well. Huaijuan didn't want to hide anything from Lin Yi. House Lu has a lot of connections in both the business and political circles. Is that so? Lin Yi smiled faintly. No wonder that woman was so cocky that day on the business street, talking about the mayor and firing the health director. What about House Yang? My family's a little weaker than House Lu's, since they're from Yanjing, and Lu Tianyi's a real power. Huaijuan said. My old man retired a few years ago, and there's not much power left in the family. We only have some influence in the military. They wanted me to train in the special forces for a couple of years, accumulate some merits, and get promoted smoothly, but who knew? Lin Yi nodded. Huaijuan's words didn't change the fact that Huaijuan's family was a lot stronger than the regular families, but still a little weaker than the top families. Take me back to school, you find a place to eat. Lin Yi said as he looked at the time. He'd be able to make it back to school in time for his first class in the afternoon. You're not eating? Huaijuan asked, confused. I wasn't really hungry, I ate too much this morning, I'll just have a bite at school. Lin Yi said. Chapter 141. A little bit, if the Lius knew that they'd be able to see the person they'd been looking for so long if they'd come a few minutes earlier, wouldn't they regret it? But there was no medicine for regret in life. The Lius hadn't realized anything at the moment, having brushed shoulders with Dr. Hayashi Lin. While part of the reason Lin Yi wanted to be friends with Shuemin was to thank him, there was also a reason behind it. He hadn't thought that much about Dr. Kong before, but Kong Xiaobo's words yesterday made Lin Yi's heart jump with excitement. Selling medicine was a lucrative business, after all. Lin Yi had quite a lot of prescriptions in his hands, but Lin Yi didn't have the time to do that right now. Lin Yi was all by himself, and it'd be hard for him to do business without a partner. In fact, Lin Yi's best partner would be Peng Zhan. Peng Zhan Industries had quite a reputation in the country. It was just that there were some internal problems that Peng Zhan himself hadn't dealt with yet, and Lin Yi didn't want to work with a company like that. It wouldn't be good for either of them if the prescriptions were to be leaked. Other than that, Guan Shuemin was the best choice. First of all, Guan Shuemin was famous in the Chinese medical community. Miracle Dr. Guan's fame wasn't below Miracle Dr. Kang's, and the reason why Miracle Dr. Kong was called Miracle Dr. Kong was because of his golden creation medicine. It could be said that one miracle medicine pushed him to the heights of a miracle doctor. Dr. Kong Industries, on the other hand, produced other medicines and medical equipment as well, but they weren't that outstanding. They could only be described as ordinary, and the formulas they used were all common Eastern medicine formulas. There was nothing special about them. Guan Shuemin, on the other hand, was a renowned Eastern medicine specialist in the world. If he were to use the name Miracle Dr. Guan, he'd probably be on par with Dr. Kong. But if he were to do it himself and use the name Miracle Dr. Lin, no one would acknowledge him. Many people might even be suspicious of him, wondering what Miracle Dr. Lin was. Could it be that he copied Dr. Kong? But when it came to Guan Shuemin, there would be no such doubts. Guan Shuemin was a miracle doctor, so it was understandable that he was called Miracle Dr. Guan. Therefore, Lin Yi had interacted with Guan Shuemin for the first time today and found that he was an honest and reliable person. If possible, Lin Yi planned to cooperate with him. He would first give him a few ordinary prescriptions and let him test the market and see the results. If a man wanted to rise up, he couldn't always rely on a woman, right? Peng Zhan's commission was legitimate, but playing house with the miss all the time wasn't a good idea, was it? Of course, Lin Yi was still observing Guan Shuemin. From the looks of it, Guan Shuemin's character wasn't bad. He could tell that Guan Shuemin was someone who was obsessed with Eastern medicine and wasn't interested in money or power. If Lin Yi gave him the prescriptions and went into hiding, it would be a good idea. But he didn't know how Guan Shuemin's children were, whether they were greedy people or not. If there was a problem with their character, then Lin Yi would have to give up on the idea of cooperating with Guan Shuemin. Tang Yun was depressed today, really depressed. She woke up in the morning and forgot about the important matter after Lin Yi messed with her. She still had to go to his class to get the prescriptions. Tang Yun didn't want to go, but her mother had already agreed to it. She left the classroom unwillingly after the first class ended and walked towards the classroom of 12th grade class 5. Meng Yao and Yushu went out for some fresh air after class and saw Tang Yun. Meng Yao knew who she was. She was the prettiest girl in Yushu and Meng Yao, but she was more popular than them. She was known as the commoner prettiest girl. But Meng Yao didn't mind. She didn't care if she was popular or not. She didn't like boys, so it was better if they didn't bother her. Tang Yun was quite surprised. She wasn't expecting to see the two prettiest girls in the school, Meng Yao and Yushu. She didn't know many people in class 5, other than Lin Yi, but she'd heard of Pin Liang's notoriety. She decided to ask Meng Yao and Yushu for help. "Hello, can I trouble you with something?" Tang Yun may be on the same level as Meng Yao, but that was just the public's opinion. In reality, Tang Yun still felt pressured in front of Meng Yao. Meng Yao was a princess-like existence, and she was just a poor girl who looked slightly better. "Oh, what is it?" As for Tang Yun, Meng Yao actually had a good impression of her. They were both beauties after all. Meng Yao herself was already very beautiful, so she wouldn't do something crazy like being jealous of someone else's beauty. Tang Yun was a beautiful girl. Tang Yun let out a sigh of relief when Meng Yao answered her politely. Meng Yao wasn't as high and mighty as the rumors made her out to be. "Can you help me look for your classes?" Lin Yi? Tang Yun gritted her teeth and said Lin Yi's name. She was a girl, but she was going to another class to look for a boy. It was a little awkward. "Lin..." Meng Yao looked at the shy Tang Yun. She didn't know why, but she felt uncomfortable. What was her relationship with Lin Yi? How did Lin Yi hook up with the common school beauty, Tang Yun, after only coming to school for a few days? Ling Shan, the tall girl from the business district, wasn't that enough? Why did he add another Tang Yun? In fact, Meng Yao misunderstood. Tang Yun's shyness wasn't the kind of shyness she was imagining. It was more like anger. Tang Yun quickly nodded when she heard Meng Yao's question. "I don't know him." Meng Yao didn't know what was wrong with her. She ignored Tang Yun after saying that, turning around and walking away. Tang Yun looked at Meng Yao, confused. What was going on? Wasn't she fine just now? Why was she angry all of a sudden? Yushu shrugged at Tang Yun and made a helpless expression. She quickly caught up to Meng Yao. "Yao Yao, what's wrong? Are you jealous?" "Jealous? I'm not." Meng Yao curled her lips. "Jealous? How could she be jealous? What a joke, what a joke." But she did feel bad. It was like someone else was coveting something that belonged to her. "Hee, Yao Yao, are you starting to like Shield Bro?" Yushu whispered. "I'm not." Meng Yao said firmly. "Just a little bit? Did you?" Yushu continued. "No, Shu, why are you so nosy?" Meng Yao panicked. "I'm going to ignore you if you keep talking." Chapter 142. I came here for nothing again. Tang Yin stood in front of class 5, dumbfounded. She didn't know why Meng Yao's personality had changed so abruptly. Could it be that she'd been harassed by the villain before, and that was why she turned around and left the moment she heard his name? But the bad guy sure had some guts, even daring to take liberties with Meng Yao. She'd never heard of anyone harassing Meng Yao before. Half of the time had passed and class was about to start. Tang Yun had no choice but to go back to her classroom and prepare for the next class. The three school beauties standing together had already attracted a lot of attention, and Tang Yun didn't want to stand there and be suspected, so she quickly went back to her classroom. Meng Yao and Yushu went to the end of the corridor to enjoy the scenery before the bell rang. The two turned around and saw that Tang Yin wasn't there anymore. Yao Yao sis, Tang Yin left. Yushu said. I saw her. Shu, why do you think she's looking for Linny? Meng Yao had been thinking about this while she was looking at the scenery. I'm guessing she's trying to borrow money. Yushu said casually. Borrow money? Meng Yao's eyes went wide. Tang Yin was trying to borrow money from Linny? I'm just guessing. Yushu smiled mischievously. You idiot. Meng Yao flicked Yushu's forehead. Whatever, let's go back. Why don't I ask her for you when she comes back? Yushu blinked. Or maybe I go to her class. You're not allowed. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Shu, are you doing this on purpose? Hee hee. Yushu smiled without saying anything. After the second period ended, Tang Yun gathered her courage and walked to the classroom of 12th grade class 5. She didn't dare to ask anyone directly this time. What if everyone in the class hated Lin Xiao? Wouldn't it be a waste of time to ask? And so, Tang Yin stood in front of class 5's classroom and peeked inside. She realized that she'd attracted a lot of attention and shyly shrunk her body back into the classroom. Tang Yin's appearance after the first period had already attracted a lot of attention. There were already two beauties in the class, but Tang Yin was a commoner beauty, and the boys paid more attention to her. After all, she was more approachable. At the time, everyone was guessing her intentions. After the second class, Tang Yun came again. It was strange. Yushu raised her head just in time to see Tang Yun retracting her body. She found it strange. Was she here for Lin Yi again? Yushu glanced at Meng Yao, who was engrossed in her book, before tiptoeing out of the classroom. Yushu walked up to Tang Yun and waved her hand in front of Tang Yun's eyes when she saw Tang Yun lowering her head in fear. Tang Yun jumped and looked up to see Yushu. What are you doing? Tang Yun, right? I'm Yushu. Yushu introduced herself, even though Tang Yun already knew her name. You're here for Lin Yi again, right? Tang Yin didn't know why Yushu was asking this, and she didn't know if she hated Lin Yi or not, but she nodded anyway. Yeah, Lin Yi isn't here. He didn't come this morning, Yushu said. What do you want? I'll pass on the message. I'm the study commissary, and helping my classmates is my duty and responsibility. You didn't come? Tang Yun looked at Yushu, surprised. Was Yushu lying to her? She'd even taken the same bus to school with him this morning, and he'd even taken advantage of her the whole way. Was it all just her imagination? He didn't come. Yushu nodded. You can take a look if you don't believe me. He's sitting at the last seat in the second group. There's no one there right now. Oh. Tang Yun didn't think that Yushu was lying to her, especially since she said that she was the study commissary. She wouldn't lie, would she? Tang Yun was also the study commissary of class 9, and she got closer to Yushu. Is that so? What do you want then? Yushu, on the other hand, didn't really care if Lin Yi came or not. She wasn't helping a classmate out of kindness, but she was curious as to why Tang Yin was looking for Lin Yi. I'll wait for him to come back then. Tang Yun hesitated. She didn't want to pass on the recipe to someone else, so she decided to do it herself. Yushu was a little disappointed, but she couldn't force Tang Yun to do anything. Come back in the afternoon then. Yeah, thanks. Tang Yun turned back to class, disappointed. She'd been here twice and Lin Yi wasn't even here. He didn't even come to school. What was this guy doing? Didn't she get off the bus with him? Yushu went back to the classroom to find Meng Yao staring at her with a sharp gaze. Meng Yao had already put down her book. Yushu was a little scared. Yao, why are you looking at me like that? Shu, where did you go? Meng Yao raised her head and realized that Yushu was gone. She followed the gaze of her classmates and realized that Yushu was talking to Tang Yun at the door. She was pissed. Didn't I tell you not to talk to her? Why didn't you listen? If Lin Yi found out, he'd think that I cared about her a lot. But thinking was just thinking. Meng Yao still wanted to know what Yushu had found out. The slippery shoe wouldn't be able to answer properly if she asked her nicely. Meng Yao pretended to be angry, and as expected, Yushu spilled the beans. I just asked her why she was looking for Shield Bro. Yushu pouted. But she wouldn't tell me, so I could only tell her that Shield Bro wasn't here and tell her to come back in the afternoon. Oh. Meng Yao nodded. I don't know what this guy's been doing, he just left a note this morning. What kind of attitude is that? My dad hired him for nothing, he's just skipping work. Yao, I remember that you wanted him to stay away from you. Why'd you change your mind so quickly? Yushu asked mischievously. Yeah. It's not easy for dad to make money, I have to pay him enough, right? Meng Yao mumbled as she came up with a lousy excuse. She didn't really believe it herself, but she couldn't admit that she didn't hate Lin that much. I see. I'll talk to Shield Bro and ask him to be more professional. Yushu nodded as if she believed her. Chapter 143. Chapter 143. Someone came. Tang Yun went to Class 5's classroom again during lunch break, but this time she didn't go to Yushu. Instead, she went to a frail-looking bespectacled girl and asked her about Lin. The girl was the type that didn't pay attention to the outside world and only focused on her studies. She didn't even know if Lin came in the morning, nor did she pay attention to him. She looked around the classroom for Tang Yun and confirmed that Lin wasn't in the classroom. Tang Yun was disappointed. Was this Lin trying to trick her on purpose? He'd promised to get the formula with her mother today, but there wasn't even a shadow of him for the whole morning. What was the meaning of this? Lin, on the other hand, walked into the classroom at 1:30 p.m. Yushu nudged me. Yao, Shield Bro's here. Oh. Meng Yao raised her head to look at Lin, only to find him looking at her as well. She lowered her head, trying to figure out what was going on between Tang Yun and Lin. Yao, you don't look too happy? Yushu could tell that Meng Yao was a little down in the dumbfounded state. It's nothing, I'm just a little tired. Meng Yao said as she massaged her shoulders. Shu, what do you think Lin Yi's been doing all morning? I don't know. Maybe I can ask him for you? Yushu said. Meng Yao seemed to be treating Shield Bro differently now, wasn't she? Does that so? Go ahead and ask. Meng Yao hesitated for a moment before agreeing to Yushu's suggestion. Oh. Should I ask Tang Yun why she's looking for him? Yushu said as she took out her phone. Lin didn't have hands before, so Yushu could only send him a note. Now that Lin had a phone, he didn't need to use such a primitive method anymore. About that? Meng Yao was about to ask why he was asking about that, but for some reason she closed her mouth. Whatever you want, heh. Yushu started typing a message on her phone before selecting Lin Yi's number and pressing send. There's a girl in the village called Xiaofang. She's beautiful and kind. A melodious ringtone sounded, but this song was a little too old. Class was about to start, and the classroom was quiet, so the ringtone seemed a little abrupt. Everyone immediately turned their heads in the direction of the ringtone. Lin was a little awkward. He'd set his phone to the standard ringtone, afraid that Huaijuan wouldn't pick up his call. He'd forgotten to turn it back to vibrate when he got back to school. He quickly took out his phone and pressed it. Fortunately, it was just a short message. Most of the people turned their heads away after a quick glance. Meng Yao smiled, knowing that it was Yushu's doing. Yushu, on the other hand, stuck her tongue out at Lin. Who told you not to turn your phone to vibrate? Lin looked at his phone and saw that it was a message from Yushu. Yao asked me to ask you what you did this morning. Lin shook his head with a smile. The miss was quite curious, wasn't this Yushu? Wasn't she trying to sabotage Meng Yao? Lin could tell what Meng Yao was thinking. As far as Lin could see, the miss was the type of person who looked cool on the outside, but had a passionate heart. She looked like he owed her a few million, but at least she cared about him sometimes. This employer wasn't too bad. Meng Yao must have wanted to ask him what he'd been up to in the morning, but was too embarrassed to ask Yushu, so she let Yushu do the asking. But then Yushu saw right through Meng Yao. Lin typed a message in a playful mood. I went to the police station this morning. It's about Xiaohei. But the message wasn't to Yushu, but to Meng Yao. Yushu sent the message and Lin received it. Meng Yao stared at Yushu's phone, her eyes glued to it. Yushu's phone didn't ring at all, but her own phone vibrated. Mengyao took out her phone curiously and saw that it was a message. She thought that it was some kind of spam, a scammer, but her face darkened the moment she opened it. It was from Lin. Moreover, he was actually telling her about his whereabouts. Was Lin Yi that obedient to report his whereabouts to her? Mengyao, of course, didn't believe that Lin Yi was that kind of person, so there could only be one conclusion. Yushu had done something to her message. Otherwise, why would Lin Yi reply to her instead of Yushu? So, Mengyao put the phone in front of Yushu. What's going on? I don't know. Yushu blinked innocently, looking like a little girl who didn't know anything. Let me see your phone. Mengyao didn't ask Yushu anymore. She'd played with Yushu since they were kids, and she knew what kind of person Yushu was. My phone. What's there to see? Yushu pretended like she didn't understand. Didn't we buy it together? Did you forget? The two of us went shopping once, and there was an activity in a mobile business hall. The poster was Fishman Tooth's very pure, very ambiguous prequel. The two of us felt that it was quite fun, so we went in. Then we participated in a free mobile phone activity. Shoo! Mengyao glared at Lin Yi angrily. Don't change the subject. Give me your phone. Oh. Yushu was actually quite afraid of Mengyao. Yushu didn't dare mess around anymore when Mengyao was angry. She handed the phone over obediently. Mengyao snatched it over and found the message Yushu had just sent. She was pissed. Shoo, why did you send it to me? Didn't you tell me to ask? Yushu said innocently. Oh. Mengyao didn't know what to say. She was the one who told her to ask, but who asked like that? Wait, didn't she say, do whatever you want? Shoo, when did I tell you to ask that? I said do whatever you want. Mengyao said angrily. Aren't you using a chicken feather as a token of authority? Oh, then I'll text Shield Bro back and explain it to him. I'll say it's my own decision, and it has nothing to do with you. Yushu said. Chapter 144. Stalking the spy, Lin Yi looked at Meow's text. Lin Yi wasn't surprised when she said, don't report to me wherever you go. It was Mengyao style after all. It wasn't unusual at all. But the last sentence, but be careful of flirting with other girls, they're already knocking on your door, was a little strange. What did she mean by be careful of flirting with other girls? What, they're already knocking on my door? Who am I messing with? Who's knocking on my door? Lin Yi was a little puzzled. Who's knocking on my door? Mengyao frowned at Lin Yi's text. Was this guy playing dumb, or did he really not know? School Beauty Tang was looking for him for something this big. How could it be possible if they didn't make an appointment beforehand? But that was just Mingyao's speculations. Looking at it from another angle, there was no way Lin Yi wouldn't tell Tang Yun that he wouldn't be at school in the morning if they did make an appointment beforehand. It really didn't seem like an appointment beforehand. Mengyao couldn't say much about it, and could only reply. Tang Yun. She's been looking for you a couple of times. Do you know that she's looking for you? Who's little Hey? Mengyao only remembered to ask Lin Yi who this little Hey was after she calmed down. Why did it sound like a dog's name? Tang Yun? Lin Yi paused. Tang Yun was looking for him? Judging from how angry she was this morning, it didn't seem like she was going to talk to him anymore. Why would she be looking for him now? Lin Yi frowned, not understanding why Tang Yun was looking for him. He replied to Mengyao. Little Hey, it's Heibao. What's Tang Yun looking for me for? Mengyao couldn't help but chuckle at Lin Yi's text, Heibao. Mengyao had heard of Black Panther's reputation before as well. Pin Liang had been bragging about how powerful he was in the sky, how he was the boss of the underworld, how he could take on 10 people all by himself, and yet someone as powerful as that had been kicked to the ground by Lin Yi. Mengyao smiled faintly, but then Lin Yi asked, what did Tang Yun come here for? Mengyao was a little annoyed. Didn't he know? How would I know? You're the one who made this mess, deal with it yourself. Mengyao replied, putting her phone back in her desk and getting ready for class. Yao Yao, what did Shield Bro say? Yushu asked after Mengyao put the phone down. You were looking sideways just now, you think I don't know? Mengyao was a little speechless at Yushu's question. Heh. Yushu said, a little embarrassed. I thought you'd be able to figure it out. Do you think I'm a fraud or an immortal? Mengao. Plus, why would I need to analyze him? Yushu saw that Mingyao's tone wasn't friendly, so she kept quiet and got ready for class. After class, Lin Yi walked out of the classroom and headed to Tang Yun's class. Tang Yun didn't have a phone, so he couldn't call or text her. He could only go look for her. Looking at Lin Yi's back, Meng Yao knew that he was going to look for Tang Yun, but she wasn't too happy about it. Yao Yao, do you want me to follow him? Yushu was starting to use her dirty tricks again. Come on. Meng Yao's eyes went black, a few black lines appearing on her forehead. You're following me? You don't know how good he is, do you? You can follow him? If he finds out, he'll think that I sent you. Oh, then I'll follow him openly. I'll say I'm curious. Yushu said, not caring at all. Meng Yao was speechless. Then you go yourself, don't tell him I asked you to. Oh, I'll go then. Don't worry, Yao Yao, I won't sell you out. Yushu said solemnly. That's more like it, HM? Meng Yao paused. She realized that Yushu had tricked her. What do you mean sell me out? You're the one who wants to go, what does it have to do with me? You stupid girl. With that, Meng Yao grabbed Yushu, wanting to teach her a lesson. Yushu giggled and ran away quickly. Meng Yao didn't manage to hit her. Lin Yi didn't even take 2 steps before he felt that someone was following him. It was a mysterious feeling. Could be called an aura or a sixth sense. The so-called sixth sense was a very wonderful feeling. When someone looked at you from behind, although there were no eyes behind you, if this person's eyes were not friendly, you would uncontrollably feel a chill, which could also be called the so-called murderous aura. Even if there wasn't any killing intent, being stared at would make you feel uncomfortable or uneasy. It was also a type of aura sensing. It was a very mysterious thing, an illusory thing, but many people would be able to sense it when they were being watched or peeped on. Lin Yi was one of them. Lin Yi didn't care. This person didn't have any killing intent towards him, which meant that he wasn't his enemy. Most importantly, the jade didn't give him any warning, so Lin Yi could ignore him for now. He arrived at the door of Class 9, and with the reflection of the glass on the open door, Lin Yi saw who it was. It was Yushu. Lin Yi smiled faintly. What a curious baby, but let her be. He took 2 more steps and arrived near Tang Yun's seat. He knocked on the window facing the corridor. The window was closed, and the curtains were drawn. He couldn't see if Tang Yun was there or not. Lin Yi was just testing. But he came here right after class, so Tang Yun shouldn't have left the classroom. Tang Yun heard someone knocking on the window next to her and opened the curtains. She looked outside and saw that it was Lin. She panicked and subconsciously closed the curtains, but after closing the curtains, Tang Yun remembered that Lin Yi might have heard from his classmates that she went to look for him in the morning. She quickly opened the curtains and the window. You came? Tang Yun was a little annoyed that Lin Yi wasn't at school the whole morning. She wasted a couple of trips. I went to do something this morning. I left after we parted at the school gate. Lin Yi smiled. What were you doing? You don't need to explain to me. Lin Yi's words were a little ambiguous, and it made Tang Yun a little shy. Parting at the school gate. It sounded like they were going to school together. Tang Yun quickly waved her hand, trying to draw a line between them. I heard that you came to look for me this morning? What's up? Lin Yi didn't linger on this topic and asked about business. Chapter 145. Chapter 145. Best friend, what did you say to my mom yesterday? Tang Yun glared at Lin. Yesterday? With your mom? Lin Yi blinked as he remembered the barbecue recipe. He'd been busy talking about Eastern medicine the whole morning and had completely forgotten about it. Tang Yun's words reminded him of the promise he'd made yesterday, and he couldn't help but blush. No wonder Tang Yun had been looking for him. It was about the barbecue recipe. Lin Yi quickly replied, embarrassed. It's about the recipe, right? Tang Yun glared at Lin. You already know the answer. I'm sorry, too many things happened this morning, I really forgot about it. Lin Yi smiled guiltily. How about this? I'll come next class and give you the recipe. Tang Yun didn't say anything else after hearing what he said. She nodded and closed the window, putting the curtains down. Lin Yi waited until she was done before turning around abruptly. How close are you going to get? Do you need a hearing aid? Yushu jumped at the sudden turn. He was talking about hearing aids, naturally, referring to her eavesdropping just now. But Yushu wasn't a normal person, after all. The awkwardness only lasted for a moment before she giggled. What's wrong? You're scared of other people overhearing you, aren't you? I just happened to pass by. Lin Yi was leaning against Tang Yun's window, and Meng Yao was standing behind Lin Yi, leaning against the wall. Tang Yun wouldn't have been able to see Yushu's existence, otherwise she wouldn't have talked to Lin Yi for so long. Lin Yi didn't know what to do with Yushu. He only smiled. What do you want to know? Ask away. Let me make this clear first. I wasn't sent by Yao Yao. Yushu rolled her eyes as she explained to Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't mind. Most of Yushu's words were bullshit. She said she was sent by Meng Yao, but it was also possible that she came here out of curiosity. Tang Yun, what do you need? Yushu asked. It's nothing. I promised to give her something, but I forgot. I'll give it to her next class. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't say anything about the barbecue recipe. It would seem as if he was giving alms to the other party. Lin Yi wasn't someone who would take credit for something he had done. Oh. Yushu was wondering what Lin Yi was going to give Tang Yun. He could only blame his poor hearing for not having clairaudient. The corridor was too noisy, so he could not hear their conversation. I'm going back. Didn't you happen to pass by? You can continue. Lin Yi nodded to Yushu. Toilet paper. Toilet paper. Yushu stomped her foot as she was pissed off by Lin Yi's words. However, Yushu's words attracted the attention of the students who were passing by. Toilet paper? School beauty Chen was asking for toilet paper in the corridor? Could it be that she couldn't hold it in anymore? This was bad for her image, bad for her image. However, there were still a lot of admirers in the school. They immediately pulled out tissues from their pockets when they heard Yushu's shout and passed them to her. For you, Yushu froze, sweating profusely. It seemed that she had been misunderstood. She felt extremely embarrassed as her face turned red. She looked at Lin Yi's back as he left, thinking to herself, I'll make fun of you when we get home. It was a good thing that Yushu's reflexes were super quick. She'd been with Meng Yao for a long time now, and her bullshit skills had reached perfection. I'm talking about my finger. My finger just popped. It hurts, understand? With that, Yushu raised her pinky finger and waved it in the air. Oh. The wolves were very disappointed. It seemed that they had misunderstood. Yushu had said, finger, not toilet paper. The boys, who had wanted to touch Yushu's hand when they passed the toilet paper, put it away helplessly. Yushu patted her chest as she went back to the classroom. She'd almost lost all her face. Thank goodness she'd reacted fast enough, or her image would have been ruined. Shu, what are you doing? Why are you panting and looking so pale? Meng Yao looked at Yushu, puzzled. Did someone see you? Oh, it's nothing. Yushu thought that she couldn't tell Meng Yao about the embarrassing incident. It was way too shameful. She'd never been this embarrassed in her life before. Did you follow him successfully? Meng Yao asked curiously. Yes, I did. Yushu nodded. I think he wanted to give something to Tang Yun, and Tang Yun asked him for it. He said he'd give it to her next class. What is it? Meng Yao. He didn't give it to me yet, how would I know? Yushu shook her head. Then you can follow him next class. Meng Yao said. I'm going again? Yushu was curious, but she'd already been discovered by Lin Yi and she'd lost all her face. She didn't want to go again. Yeah, didn't you want to follow him? Meng Yao asked curiously as she looked at Yushu's hesitation. I was almost discovered, you should go next time? Yushu stuttered. You didn't get discovered, did you? Meng Yao knew Yushu very well. She could guess it from her expression. Yeah. Yushu nodded, admitting it. You. Meng Yao shook her head. I told you, with his skills, there's no way he wouldn't notice. Now, he's going to think that I sent you again. I can't. Yushu shook her head. After I got caught, I made it clear that it wasn't Yao Yao who sent me. Meng Yao wanted to beat this dumb girl to death. But then again, Lin Yi might not believe Yushu's words. Yao Yao, are you relieved now? Happy now? I didn't sell you out. Yushu said proudly. Hashtag when you're sad, she can make you happy. When you're happy, she can make you sad. When you're happy, she can make you angry. When you're angry, she can make you angrier. When you're angry, she can make you happy. Lin went back to the classroom and started writing down the recipe on a piece of draft paper. The New Orleans, honey, and black pepper seasonings didn't require any special techniques, and Lin always made them himself at home. Lin got back to the classroom and started writing down the recipe on a piece of paper. There weren't any special techniques involved in making the New Orleans barbecue sauce, honey sauce, and black pepper sauce. Lin always made them himself at home. Chapter 146. Love Letter. After class, Lin rushed to class 9 and knocked on the window next to Tang Yun's seat. But Tang Yun didn't open the curtains. Lin was puzzled. She couldn't have left the classroom already, could she? He'd rushed here as fast as he could, and didn't they have an appointment during the last class? He'd come here to give her the formula. With that in mind, he knocked on the window once more. Did she not hear him? This time, there was a response from the classroom. Tang Yun lifted the curtains but didn't open the window. But he didn't open the window. Tang Yun's face was a little red as she put her hand on her mouth and made a shushing gesture. She waved her hand again. What was that supposed to mean? Lin was puzzled. Why didn't you say something? I can read your lips and know what you're trying to say. Who would understand what you're saying when you're waving your hand and shushing? But at that moment, the door to class 9 opened, and a middle-aged woman walked out. She looked at Lin, who was knocking on the window. Who's knocking on the window? Which class are you from? Lin froze. Why was there a teacher? Was the class delayed? Lin sweated at the possibility. He'd interrupted the teacher's lesson with his random knocking on the door. Wouldn't she come out and get mad at him? Ugh, I'm sorry, I thought the class was over. Lin said, scratching his head. The homeroom teacher of class 9, Ms. Song, froze when she saw Lin. She remembered what happened a few days ago during the class break. Apparently, Lin was named as one of the Big Four bullies, and nothing happened to him. His family background must be pretty strong. Ms. Song frowned. She didn't want to argue with a student like this. It was pointless, and he might not listen to her anyway. She decided not to say anything and asked directly, "Why are you knocking on the window?" "I'm looking for Tang Yun." Lin smiled bitterly. Tang Yun? Ms. Song frowned. She didn't know what Lin wanted with the top student in her class. She was about to reject him when she remembered what the dean said this morning. She told her to give Tang Yun more freedom. With that thought, Ms. Song didn't reject him directly. She wanted to ask for Tang Yun's opinion. Normally, she would have chased Lin away. "You call?" "My name is Lin," Lin said. "Then wait for a while." After Ms. Song finished, she turned around and walked into the classroom. "Tang Yun, there's a student looking for you outside. His name is Lin. Do you want to meet him?" Tang Yin was going crazy with anger. "Why did you have to do it in front of the teacher? Of all the other times you could have come looking for me. He even knocked on the window. Aren't you trying to embarrass me? Even if you take the bus again tomorrow morning and I get harassed by you again, it's still better if you give it to me then." Tang Yun felt sad. Why was her life so unlucky after meeting Lin, this young thug? If she didn't see him, what if Lin kept knocking on the window? What if he got angry and didn't give her the formula? Although she didn't care about his formula, her mother needed it. If she didn't get it, wouldn't it be even more difficult if her mother came in person? With that thought, Tang Yun stood up and said to Ms. Song, "Ms. Song, I'll go out for a bit." Ms. Song paused. She knew Tang Yun's usual behavior. Although there were many pursuers in school, including some rich young masters, Tang Yun ignored them all. Not to mention looking for them in the classroom, Tang Yun would go out. Even if she met them outside, Tang Yun would avoid them. But since Tang Yun decided to go out and meet Lin, Ms. Song couldn't say much. She nodded and followed Tang Yun to the classroom door. She looked at Tang Yun and Lin from afar. She wanted to see what they were going to do. If Lin started to pester Tang Yun, she could stop him. "Why did you come at this time?" Tang Yun pouted and looked at Lin unhappily. "Our homeroom teacher's class hasn't ended yet. Didn't you see the hand signal I gave you?" You shushed me and waved your hand. Who knows what you're going to do? Lin Yi shrugged innocently. Didn't we make a deal? I'll give you the recipe during the break. Sigh. Tang Yun sighed helplessly, then hurry up and give it to me. Here. Lin Yi took out the written formula and handed it to Tang Yun. Tang Yun took it and put it in her pocket. She didn't open it. I'm going back. Don't knock on the door next time. Next time? Lin Yi paused. Only then did Tang Yun realize her mistake. Didn't she mean that Lin Yi would come and harass her again? She quickly changed her words. There won't be a next time. With that, she was afraid that Lin Yi would be angry. She didn't dare to look at him and turned around to run back to the classroom. She almost bumped into Ms. Song. I'm sorry, Ms. Song. Tang Yun blushed. Go back. Be careful next time. Ms. Song frowned. She didn't care about Tang Yun almost bumping into her. What she cared about was what Lin Yi gave Tang Yun. It looked like a folded piece of paper? And Tang Yun ran back with a red face as soon as she got it? Mr. Song took it for granted that Tang Yun's blushing face when she almost bumped into him as a shy blush. Could it be a love letter? Ms. Song shook her head at the thought of this possibility. Was Tang Yun a fool? She never accepted love letters from boys before. What was wrong with her this time? Not only did she make an exception to see Lin Yi, but she also accepted his love letter. She even had a shy expression on her face. Could it be that there was something going on between them? Ms. Song wasn't the only one who saw this scene. There were many other people, such as Tang Yun's classmates. There was more than one window in the hallway. A few people could open the curtains and see what was happening outside. Although they couldn't hear what they were talking about, they could think of a lot of things just by looking at the ambiguous expressions, the ambiguous movements, and Tang Yun's annoyed expression, especially at the end, when Lin Yi took out a folded piece of paper and gave it to Tang Yun. Tang Yun put it in her pocket shyly and ran back with a red face. This scene was too awesome. Chapter 147. Chapter 147. News travels fast. Did you guys know? Lin Yi, one of the new Big Four, went to Tang Yun's class and gave her a note. I wonder what it was? Did you guys know? Lin Yi of the Big Four wrote a love letter to Tang Yun. Did you guys know? Lin Yi of the Big Four, Lin Yi is chasing after Tang Yun. Did you guys know? Lin Yi of the Big Four, Lin Yi is dating Tang Yun. Did you guys know? Lin Yi of the Big Four, Zhou Ruoming of the Big Four, went to harass his girlfriend Tang Yun and got beaten up by Lin. Young Master Lin and Tang Yun, the two main characters, didn't know that the rumors about them had spread all over the school. Meng Yao and Yushu watched as Lin Yi ran out empty-handed and came back empty-handed. They didn't know what he gave Tang Yun, but they didn't see him take anything out. Meng Yao wanted to ask, but was too embarrassed to do so. She could only let it go. Yushu, on the other hand, wasn't trustworthy enough. She'd be better off asking herself than asking. She'd be selling herself out in the blink of an eye. The last class ended, and it was the break before the main class. Tang Yun and a girl with glasses were walking hand in hand on the field. This was Tang Yun's best friend, Lu Xinwen, from the 30th grade. Their houses were very close, and they knew the pitiful Xiaofan as well. Lu Xinwen, on the other hand, wasn't very good-looking. Naturally, she wouldn't be the target of attention from gangsters or young masters. She didn't have much time on her hands either. Yinin, you're not really with Lin? Xinwen said in a hushed voice. I'm not. Tang Yun wasn't expecting her best friend to say something like that. She blushed. What are you talking about? How could I be with him? No way, right? Don't you know Yun Yun? The news has spread in our class that Lin Yi gave you a love letter today, and you shyly accepted it. You were so flustered that you almost knocked down our homeroom teacher, Teacher Song. Lu Xinwen said. Tang Yun didn't think that the barbecue recipe Lin Yi gave her would be seen by people with ulterior motives, and it would spread like this. Gossip was a fearful thing. What, you really don't know? Seeing Tang Yun's confused look, Lu Xinwen was also puzzled. Did Tang Yun really not know? Woman, tell me, what's going on? Tang Yin was starting to panic as she shook Xinwen's hand. How come I didn't know anything? This afternoon, someone saw Lin Yi confessing his love to you, and you shyly accepted it and went back to class? Xinwen summarized the more believable version of the story for Tang Yin. Wah! Tang Yun's eyes widened. He's giving me a love letter? Confessing his love to me? Yeah, that's what everyone said. Xinwen thought. There's a more fantastical version that I haven't told you yet, and you'll know how powerful it is when I tell you. When you still don't believe me? Why would I fall in love so early? Tang Yun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Who knows? You're already 18, who knows if you're in love or not? Xinwen laughed. Plus, you're about to graduate from high school and you're about to go to university. You might not be able to hold it in anymore, right? I'll hammer you to death. Tang Yun blushed at Xinwen's shyness. She raised her hand and punched Xinwen, but Xinwen laughed and dodged it. Yun, tell me the truth. Do you like Lin Yi or not? Xinwen finished laughing and put on a serious expression. Since when did I like him? Isn't it because he's pestering me? Tang Yun pursed her lips. You're telling the truth? Xinwen said. Yun, I'm telling you, you have to be careful. Don't get tricked by others. Xiaofan is a lesson for you. Although you're pretty, you don't have any other assets. Don't fall for it, or you'll regret it later. Wenwen, you still don't believe me? It's all because of that bastard Lin Yi pestering me. How could I accept his confession? Tang Yun said. Who told you that? Oh, that's good. Xinwen nodded. I heard it from someone. It's hard to say. Everyone says that, but I don't know who started it. Anyway, it's getting more and more ridiculous. Everyone says that you and Lin Yi are together. Tang Yun smiled bitterly and stomped her feet. She was a bit annoyed. What should I do? Wenwen, what do you think I should do? Why don't I go talk to him? How can you do this? You might be afraid of him, but I'm not. Xinwen was famous for her toughness. Her mother was also a fierce woman. Xinwen had inherited her mother's good traditions since young. She followed her mother to the market to sell vegetables when she was 12, and she could scare away the gangsters who were collecting protection fees with a kitchen knife. Forget it. You don't know, but he's really strong. He beat up Zhong Pengliang and Zhou Ruoming, and they didn't even dare say anything. Don't go. Tang Yun didn't want anything to happen to Xinwen. This wasn't something that could be solved with just toughness. Man. Xinwen had heard of Lin Yi's exploits before, but it wasn't just a matter of his background anymore. He was practically unbridled, beating up 2 of the Big Four just a few days after transferring and getting away scot-free. Xinwen knew that she was no match for him. She wouldn't be able to do anything good if she went. She said angrily, I think it's most likely Lin Yi. Tang Yun paused. She looked at Xinwen, confused. You still don't understand? If he fails to pursue you, he will take the opportunity to hype up your relationship. By then, everyone will know that you are his girlfriend, and you can only accept your fate. Lu Xinwen speculated maliciously. No way. He's not that kind of person, is he? Tang Yun frowned. From the impression that Lin Yi left on her these days, Lin Yi might be despicable, but he wasn't the kind of person who would spread rumors behind someone's back. From her point of view, Lin Yi purposely pretended to be a polite gentleman. Even if she saw through him, he wouldn't use such a despicable method. It would only make her hate him more. Why not? I say, Yin Yun, why are you on his side? You think he's not that kind of person? What, are you really a little tempted? Xinwen could tell that there was something wrong with Tang Yun's words. She seemed to be protecting Lin. Chapter 148. 80%. Did Lin Yi look for you before? Did he give you a love letter? Xinwen suddenly thought of something very important. Although this could be Lin Yi's rumor, there's no smoke without fire. If there's no smoke without fire, who'd believe it if there wasn't any evidence to back it up? Nope, he just gave me a recipe for barbecue. Tang Yun explained as she took out the recipe Lin Yi gave her. Here, take a look. That's it. Xinwen took the paper from Tang Yun's hands and looked at it. Why did he give you this? Isn't it because of my mom? I don't know why my mom got tricked by him, but he said that he had a recipe for barbecue and that my family's business would be better if we improved it. Tang Yun explained. Then my mom believed him and told me to get the recipe from Lin. You can do that. Xinwen's eyes wide. This didn't seem like the way a young master would pick up a girl, did it? Those rich kids wouldn't have the time to do something like that. Lin Yi's method was quite novel and unique, starting with Tang Yun's mother. It didn't seem like something a student their age would do, did it? Yeah, I had no choice but to take it. Tang Yun said helplessly. Me and Lin are like this. He pursues me, but I won't say yes. Who knows if he's just messing around or not? Yun, it sounds like you're really interested in him. After hearing Tang Yun's words, Lu Xinwen stared at Tang Yun's pretty face as if she was trying to read something from it. If he's not playing around and is serious, then will you say yes to him? Wenwen, what are you talking about? Tang Yun blushed as she realized her mistake. I'm saying that people like him won't be sincere. Why would I fall for him? Alright. It doesn't matter if you fall for him or not, just don't say yes. Xinwen said. You've always been the best out of the three of us. You're good at your studies and you're pretty too. You can't fall for him. Xiaofan and I will be relying on you from now on. Okay. Tang Yin nodded, but in her heart, she was wondering how the news about her and Lin Yi had gotten out. Could it be that the big villain, Lin Yi, really spread it? If that was the case, then she should talk to him about it. He didn't care, so why should she? However, Tang Yun was only thinking about it. Asking her to reason with the villain was like sending a lamb into a tiger's mouth. He passed the recipe to Tang Yun, and the afternoon went by peacefully. He and Xiaobo were walking in the hallway of the school building after school when people started pointing at them from behind. He didn't pay much attention to it at first, but it felt like he was being watched everywhere he went. There wasn't this much attention when he beat up Heibao, was there? Boss, what are they looking at? Kong Xiaobo was confused as well. I don't know, why don't you go ask? Lin Yi was confused as well. You come here. Kong Xiaobo had been following Lin Yi for the past 2 days, and his confidence grew. Although he wasn't one of the big four, he was at least the follower of one of them. His status naturally rose. He even dared to scold Zhou Ruoming, not to mention a student pointing at him. The boy who was pointed at by Kong Xiaobo was talking happily with a few students next to him. When he was called by Kong Xiaobo, he was dumbfounded. Although he didn't know who Kong Xiaobo was, he must be a ruthless person to be able to follow by Lin Yi's side. His face turned pale, and he knew that he had caused trouble. His mouth, he shouldn't speak carelessly. Bro, you called me? The boy looked at Kong Xiaobo timidly and asked carefully. Nonsense, who else would I call if not you? Come here. Kong Xiaobo said fiercely, what the hell were you talking about just now? Pointing at my boss and beaming with joy, do you think you're a commentator? Bro, what's wrong with me? The boy walked over carefully. I'm asking you, what are you talking about? Do you not understand me? Kong Xiaobo was a little annoyed. This boy's saliva was flying everywhere just now. Why did he wither in such a short time? I didn't say anything. The boy was scared and quickly shook his head. Do you want to be beaten up? Kong Xiaobo glared at him. I'm telling you, it's very impolite to talk about others behind their backs. If you tell the truth now, I will let you go. Otherwise, I will ask the people behind you and see what you just said. I have to say that Kong Xiaobo's words were still very deterrent. The boy was dumbfounded when he heard it. He could bear it and not say it, but the students behind him who were listening to his explanation just now wouldn't hide it for him. Thinking of this, his face turned pale and he had to admit, I'm sorry. I also heard it from others. What did you hear from others? Kong Xiaobo was furious. Why were you wasting time? You were so excited just now, why didn't you drag it out? I heard that Lin Yi bro and the beauty of the school, Tang Yun, are dating. The boy said in a small voice. Today, Lin Yi bro confessed to Tang Yun and gave her a love letter. Tang Yun also shyly accepted it. Lin Yi's eyes widened in shock. Damn, who was the one who spread this? When did I give Tang Yun a love letter? Lin Yi's first reaction was, did these people have nothing better to do? He only gave Tang Yun a barbecue recipe, but it turned into a love letter. He had to admire these people's imagination. Lin didn't care much about it, but Tang Yun, who was this immoral? This way, Tang Yun would definitely avoid him next time. His plan to flirt with a girl was completely ruined. He didn't know how Miss would react when she found out. Fuck, why was she so unlucky today? Linny bro and this bro. You see, I only heard it from others. The boy saw Lin Yi's expression change and was shocked. He quickly admitted his mistake. All right, you can leave. Linny didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Linny wouldn't argue with this boy. He definitely didn't say it. He was just passing the news out of curiosity. There was no way to pursue this matter. Thank you, Linny bro, thank you. The boy nodded and quickly ran away. Boss, I think this is a good thing, right? After the boy left, Kong Xiaobo winked at Lin. Now that everyone knows that Tang Yun is your girlfriend, you have a good chance, right? Chapter 149. Chapter 149, Unwanted Results. Haili City, the chairman's office of the Flying Shuttle Cosmic Corporation. Yuchu sat there with a dark expression on his face. He was the mastermind behind Mingyao's kidnapping case, and he'd been scolded by his partner, Jin Gubang. He was quite upset, and if it weren't for the fact that his boss valued Gubang more than he did, he wouldn't have swallowed his anger like this. Those gangsters had been sent by the boss's underlings, and now that the operation had failed, Gubang was pushing all the blame onto him. This made Yuchu very angry. He had a domineering name, and a domineering company name, but Yuchu knew that he was nothing more than a puppet of his boss. He wasn't even a puppet of the big boss, he was just a puppet of one of Tsihua Bro's spokesmen. There were some things he couldn't make up his mind on, so he called his boss, Tsihua Bro. Tsihua Bro, I'm Yuchu? Yuchu said humbly. Yeah, what's up? Tsihua hadn't been in a good mood these past couple of days. He hadn't been able to contact Baldi at all, and he'd just received news that the police had found Baldi's body. It was a relief to Tsihua. Baldi was dead, and no matter how he died, it had nothing to do with him. Baldi's underlings knew of his existence, but they'd never met him face to face. Even if they were in the police's hands, the police wouldn't be able to do anything to him with just a few words. Actually, Tsihua wouldn't be afraid even if Baldi were to bite him out. With his power, and that of the person behind him, it wasn't something a normal person could do anything to. Tsihua was troubled by the fact that he'd messed things up this time, and how hard it would be to explain things to the person behind him. He'd underestimated his enemies too much, sending a gangster like Baldi. Tsihua Bro, that Jin Gubang, he's pushing all the blame on me, saying that my men aren't good enough. He's looking down on you, saying that your men aren't good enough. Yuchu said, adding oil to the fire. It wasn't his fault in the first place, but he was the one who'd been wronged. I understand. Tsihua frowned. He wasn't expecting Yuchu to talk to him about stuff like this. Jin Gubang isn't one of the boss's men, it's just a business relationship. If he's complaining to you, then let him be. We're on the same side, and I understand your situation. I'll remember all the things you've done to me. Yes, Tsihua Bro, I feel much better now that you've said it. Yuchu said, trying to convince the higher-ups that he had been wronged. By the way, have you investigated that side? Who's that bodyguard of Mengyao? Tsihua asked. We've already looked into this Jin Gubang, and from the looks of it, he's a worker Pingzhan hired from somewhere. He's assigned to Mingyao's school to be her bodyguard. Yuchu said. As for which security company he's working for, we don't know yet. Jin Gubang didn't manage to find out either. Then keep looking. Tsihua said. The boss has been paying a lot of attention to this, and he's already sent a golden-class peak master over. I underestimated him last time, but this time, peak of the golden class? Yuchu's heart skipped a beat. He had more or less heard about the division of strength on the boss's side. The strength of the peak of the golden class was no weaker than a special forces soldier, and he actually sent it to deal with a little bodyguard. Keep your mouth shut, don't say anything. Tsihua reminded. Don't worry, Tsihua Bro, I won't. Yuchu promised. Lin Yi quickly got into Faubert's Bentley while no one was noticing. Miao's face had been blank the whole time, and Yushu was giggling beside her. Evidently, Mengyao had heard something about the love letter he'd given Tang Yin. Lin Yi shook his head. Mengyao was obviously pissed, but Faubert was there as well, so it wasn't a good time to get angry. The three of them didn't speak on the way back, and even Yushu, who'd always been talkative, shut her mouth. She didn't want to disturb Mingyao's mood anymore. Lin Yi was just about to return to his room when Meng Yao stopped him abruptly. Lin Yi, stop right there. Lin Yi wanted to hide from the Mississippi. Who'd want to mess with her when she was in a fit of anger? But she caught him before he could do so. Lin Yi turned around to see Meng Yao standing there with her hands on her waist, looking fierce. Miss Chu, what's the matter? Lin Yi laughed dryly. Lin Yi, you're really something, huh? You've only been at school for 2 days, and there's already a scandal? Is my dad paying you for you to fool around in school? Meng Yao was really pissed. This Lin Yi was too much, wasn't he? Miss Chu, when your dad gave me my salary, he made it very clear that I'm supposed to take care of your studies and your life. Other things aren't part of my job scope, am I right? Lin Yi felt like he'd been too soft all this while. Men needed to be hard in many situations to let the miss know how powerful they were. Meng Yao was speechless from Lin Yi's retort. Indeed, Lin Yi was just an employee hired by her father. She didn't have the right to interfere with his private life, did she? He was looking for a girlfriend, so why was she getting so worked up? But Meng Yao didn't feel good about it. But even if you want a scandal, it should be between me and Shu, right? Why didn't you choose your own family, and instead go flirt with other girls? What's the meaning of this? Ignoring Mai and Shu's charms? Right, she must be angry because Lin Yi ignored her and Shu. Meng Yao blamed her anger on Lin Yi ignoring her attractiveness. After all, what kind of woman would tolerate a man ignoring them? This kind of humiliation was worse than death. But Meng Yao couldn't say it. What could she say? Could she tell Lin Yi that he was blind? There were 2 pretty girls in the house, and he went out to flirt? Just behave yourself. Don't tarnish Mai and Shu's reputation. We don't want people to think that our follower is that kind of person. Meng Yao said angrily. Oh, don't worry, Miss Chu. I'll try my best to stay away from you in school. I won't let anyone know about our relationship, Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi's words stunned Meng Yao. She stared at Lin Yi blankly, speechless. Meng Yao didn't expect her words to get such an answer from Lin. Was this the answer she wanted? Chapter 150. Chapter 150. Not in a good mood, Meng Yao felt like crying as she watched Lin Yi walk back to his room. She'd never been treated like this in her entire life. Lin Yi, you think you're so great? So what if I stay away from you? I don't care about you. Meng Yao yelled at the top of her lungs as she watched Lin Yi walk away. From now on, I don't care about your business anymore. With that, Meng Yao collapsed onto the sofa as if she'd lost all her energy. She couldn't hold it in anymore. She couldn't hold it in any longer, but she was afraid that Yushu would hear her. Yao Yao. What's wrong? Yushu stopped joking around after noticing Meng Yao's strange behavior. She held Meng Yao's hand up. Yao Yao. Don't cry. Who's crying? I'm not crying. Meng Yao, naturally, wouldn't admit that she'd shed tears for some random guy. What did his good and bad have to do with her? He'd saved her, hadn't he? So what? Faubert had even saved her when she was young. Lin Yi and Faubert. Meng Yao's heart warmed every time she thought back to that moment when Lin Yi stood up for her as a hostage. She'd always felt that she was a very lucky girl to have a man willing to die with her, but now, Yao Yao, I know you like Shield Bro. Maybe I can talk to him? Yushu could tell what Meng Yao was thinking now. She'd grown up with Meng Yao, and no one knew her better than she did. Meng Yao was probably falling for Lin. The hero saving the damsel in distress scene was a bit of a cliché, but it was a classic that people loved to talk about. Yushu could tell that Meng Yao's attitude towards Lin Yi had changed ever since Lin Yi saved her. Meng Yao might not have noticed these details, but Yushu, as a bystander, could see the difference. Shu, what are you talking about? Who likes him? Meng Yao jumped up from the sofa, her voice hoarse. I don't like him. I've told you 10,000 times, I don't like him. Don't talk nonsense. Yushu hadn't seen Meng Yao react like that before. I'll stop. All right, Yao Yao, we don't like him, okay? Meng Yao hugged Yushu, feeling a bit wronged. Shu, you're the best, always by my side. Yeah, I'll always be with you. Yushu nodded as she patted Meng Yao's shoulder comfortingly. It wasn't that Lin Yi didn't hear Meng Yao's voice, but that he didn't know how to respond. Lin Yi's hand shook as he closed the door, sighing softly. Even though Lin Yi couldn't figure out what the Chu First Miss was thinking, judging from her behavior today, she seemed to be a little jealous. Could it be that the Chu First Miss had feelings for him? Lin Yi didn't know what was going on. He and Meng Yao had always been on opposite sides. Even if he saved her, it wasn't love at first sight, was it? What's more, even if it was love at first sight, Lin Yi wouldn't dare to have an affair with the miss. This was a taboo in the industry. Falling in love with the employer was like playing with fire. Lin Yi shook his head. He didn't dare to provoke the young miss when she went crazy today. At night, when Faubert came to deliver dinner, Lin Yi didn't even go out. Meng Yao and Yushu felt a little better after venting their frustrations for a while, and they forced themselves to cheer up when they saw Faubert walking over. Faubert was a little surprised that Lin Yi wasn't there. "Miss Chu, is Mr. Lin not here?" "Probably dead." Meng Yao didn't feel good about it, but she didn't hide anything. Faubert had watched her grow up, and he knew her personality well. Faubert smiled bitterly, guessing that there was some misunderstanding between Lin Yi and Meng Yao. But Faubert wasn't in a position to intervene in something like this. He was only Peng Zhan's butler, after all, and Peng Zhan's ambiguous relationship with Lin Yi and Miss Chu made it even more difficult for Faubert to get involved. After helping the two misses put down the food, Faubert knew that it wasn't a good idea to stay here any longer. He left the villa first. After Faubert left, only Meng Yao and Yushu were left in the villa. There were originally 2 of them, but with Lin Yi's arrival, it became 3. Before she knew it, Meng Yao had gotten used to Lin Yi coming out to help Li Fu with the food. The 3 of them would put the food on the table, and Lin Yi would go back to his room to wait for her and Shu to finish eating. Meng Yao wanted to ask Lin Yi to eat with her, but she couldn't bring herself to do so because of her pride. Who would have thought that their relationship wouldn't just not get better, it would get even worse because of what happened today. Meng Yao didn't have the slightest appetite as she looked at her favorite dishes on the table. She only took 2 bites before putting down her chopsticks. "Yao Yao, what's wrong?" Yushu looked at the tired Meng Yao. "Maybe I'll ask Shield Bro to come out and we can eat together?" "Nope, I don't have an appetite." Meng Yao shook her head. "Just pretend that he doesn't exist in the house?" Meng Yao had subconsciously treated Lin Yi as one of the members of the villa, but she didn't realize it herself. Yushu lowered her head and went to eat. The food today was really good. Yushu remembered that there was even papaya pork soup. Yeah, it was said that it could help with breast enlargement. But she was already well-proportioned and a little bigger than normal people. She didn't need to enlarge it anymore, did she? She wouldn't look good if she became a milk cow like Lingshan. Haha, but Yao Yao should give it a boost. She was taller than her, but not as big as her. "Shu, what are you doing?" Meng Yao was pissed off as she watched Yushu eat like crazy with a smile on her face. "How can you be so heartless? I'm already like this and you're still eating happily? Are you trying to piss me off?" Oh. Yushu almost swallowed a piece of pork. "It's nothing. I'm just a little hungry. No more eating. Come out with me." Meng Yao wasn't in a good mood. She didn't want to stay at home. "Okay." Yushu put down her chopsticks and looked at the food on the table, a little reluctant to leave. "There's good food even if we go out. I'll buy you some gutter oil fried mushrooms." Meng Yao rolled her eyes at Yushu. Yushu was speechless. How was she supposed to eat after that? Gutter oil? Was it that disgusting? Chapter 151. You can't drink. Lin Yi was in the room, but he could still hear everything that was going on outside the room: Meng Yao's rage, Faubert's arrival, and even the conversation they had at the dinner table. Lin Yi had heard everything. Lin Yi stretched his waist. This was a critical time, and the 2 girls were going out at night. They didn't say they were bringing him along, but he couldn't just ignore them. He'd just follow them from afar. With that in mind, Lin Yi decided to change out of his uniform. His school uniform was way too eye-catching, and he'd attract a lot of attention if he went out in the middle of the night. It wouldn't be good if Meng Yao found out. He found a new set of casual clothes he'd bought over the weekend and took off his uniform, leaving only his underwear on. He was just about to put it on when the door opened. Yushu wasn't expecting Lin Yi to be naked in the room. She almost screamed at the sight of it. She covered her mouth with one hand and her eyes with the other, but kept her eyes peeking at Lin Yi's body through the gaps between her fingers. Not bad, abs too. She'd already seen Lin Yi's asterisk anyways. It didn't matter if she looked again now. Yushu comforted herself, but she couldn't let Lin Yi catch her peeking again. She had to cover her eyes. What? Why were you in here? Lin Yi was startled as well. The door was shoved open just as he was changing his clothes. Lin Yi would have kicked the door open if he didn't know that there weren't any dangers in the villa. He pulled a pair of pants off in front of himself. Lin Yi was a little thick-skinned, but Yushu was staring at him like that. Of course I have something to talk to you about, Yushu said, blushing. Put on your pants. Are you streaking in the house? No, I didn't see you guys going out. I was thinking of changing my clothes and following you from afar. Lin Yi didn't hide anything from Yushu. The girl might be a troublemaker, but she knew what was right and wrong in many situations. You knew we were going out? Yushu was a little surprised. She even moved her hands away from her eyes, but Lin Yi had already taken off his pants, leaving his upper body bare. Even so, it was still a very embarrassing thing. Yushu was a little curious, but she didn't want to look too much. She thought to herself, yeah, I'll be able to look all I want when Yao Yao marries him. Heh. I overheard some of your conversation just now. Lin Yi nodded. He pulled a cheap t-shirt and put it on. He didn't have enough clothes. He should buy a few more when he had time. Oh, if that's the case, I won't explain anymore, Yushu said as she passed a bunch of keys to Lin. Here, this is the key to my villa's garage, and this is my car key. Yao Yao will be driving later, and if you don't have a car, do you think you're Superman? You can keep up with us. Thanks. Lin Yi didn't expect Yushu to give him the car keys. I'm just worried that Yao Yao will go crazy and go somewhere dangerous, Yushu said, a little embarrassed. You'll have to be a fighter if that happens. Lin Yi sweated. It seemed like this girl was just looking for fun, afraid that he wouldn't have a place to show off. Let's go, Yao Yao's looking for clothes. I took the chance to sneak out. You go get the car first, Yushu said as she left the room. Lin Yi had put on his clothes by now, and quickly left the villa with the keys Yushu gave him. Yushu's villa was very recognizable. It was just across the street from Mingyao's villa. He opened the iron gate and found Yushu's garage. There was a yellow beetle parked there. Lin Yi smiled bitterly as he rubbed his nose. It was a rather feminine car. It was driven by men as well, but the color was a little too bright. Lin Yi got in the car and drove it out of Yushu's villa, parking it by the roadside. Mengyao might get suspicious if he were to drive it out of the villa, but it didn't matter on the road. There were plenty of similar cars on the road, and Mengyao couldn't be looking at the license plate at this late hour. He turned off the lights and waited for Mingyao's car to come out. After a while, Mingyao's Audi S5 slowly drove out of the villa, honking as it turned the corner as if to warn Lin. Lin Yi paused before realizing that Yushu was probably the one driving the car, so she was reminding him. Lin Yi turned on the lights and started the car, following her slowly. Yushu was the one driving, and Lin Yi was even more at ease. Usually, only the driver would pay attention to the road, and the passengers in the car rarely looked back and forth. Lin Yi wasn't worried that Mengyao would notice that he was tailing them. Lin Yi was right. Yushu was the one driving, using Mingyao's bad mood as an excuse to be the driver. It surprised Mengyao quite a bit. Yushu didn't like driving, of course, with the exception of racing. She felt that the car couldn't run on the city roads at all, and it was very uncomfortable to stop and drive. Mengyao called out, Yao Yao sis, a couple of times, and Mengyao reluctantly agreed to be her chauffeur. As for her own Volkswagen Beetle, it'd take 1.5 years to drive out of the garage. Yao Yao, where are we going? Yushu looked at the rearview mirror, relieved to see that her yellow Beetle was following them. In the past, Faubert would follow them no matter how late they went out, but after Lin Yi came, Faubert took care of everything other than sending them to school and taking care of their meals. Yushu was a little suspicious before, but after the bank incident, she realized that Lin Yi was quite capable. He wasn't just good at teaching hooligans. So this time, she called Lin. Yushu wasn't an idiot. The two of them were the school beauties, and they knew what they looked like. Although they had powerful backgrounds, others didn't know. It was safer to bring Shield Bro along. Let's go to the bar? I want a drink, what about you? Meng Yao was in a bad mood as she looked at the night view outside. I want to drink too. Yushu nodded excitedly. I haven't had a drink before, I didn't dare drink with Faubert around, but I can drink as much as I want this time. Oh, that's great. With Faubert by their side, Meng Yao and Yushu behaved themselves and didn't do anything out of line. After all, Faubert was Pengzhan's confidant, and he could report to him anytime. Chapter 152. You really think I don't know? Ah. Yushu looked at the smiling Meng Yao, realizing that she'd been set up. Meng Yao wouldn't usually make jokes like this. It was more like it if the two switched places. But today, Meng Yao wasn't her usual self, joking with Yushu first. This meant that Meng Yao's mood was abnormal today. Surprisingly, Yushu didn't refute. She'd have 100 excuses waiting for Meng Yao if it were any other day, but she nodded obediently today. All right, I'll drink juice. A good boy. Meng Yao nodded. Yao Yao sis, why don't we both drink and take a taxi back? Or maybe we can ask Shield Bro to drive us back. Yushu, on the other hand, felt that this was a rare opportunity. What was the point of watching Meng Yao drink instead of herself? Call him? What about your yellow bug? Meng Yao looked at Yushu with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. Ah. Yushu's mouth was wide open as she looked at Meng Yao. What yellow worm are you talking about? You think I don't know? Meng Yao glared at Yushu. You think I don't know what you're thinking? I've seen through you since you were young. While I was changing my clothes, what were you looking for in my bag? You don't seem to move your handbag much, do you? Are you looking for the car keys? Then he sneaked out and came back after a while. But when he went out, Lin Yi's shoes were gone. Do you really think I didn't see it? Yushu was a little awkward. She hadn't expected Meng Yao to find out about her little trick so early on. After that, you rushed to drive. When have you ever rushed to drive? Meng Yao looked at Yushu mischievously. You even honked when you got out of the villa, and a yellow bug followed us? Isn't that your car? Yao Yao sis, so you already noticed? Yushu sweated. She had to hand it to Meng Yao for having a sharp mind, figuring out her intentions through a series of abnormalities. Can't you see that bastard following me? Do you think I'd dare go to a bar this late? Meng Yao said. But don't call him here. I hate him right now. Oh, that's good. I can drink too. Yushu didn't really care if she called Lin Yi over or not. Lin Yi's cover had been blown, so there was no need for her to hide anymore. With a flower protector, they wouldn't have to be afraid of anything. I'm not in a good mood, so I'll drink. What are you drinking? Meng Yao said, a little pissed off at the way Yushu was acting. I'm in a good mood, so I'll drink too. Yushu nodded. Meng Yao was speechless. Having a best friend like this was too much of a training exercise. Yushu found a bar called Awesome Floating Cloud. Judging from the renovations, it seemed to be new this year. It was quite fashionable and luxurious, and it was quite lively as well. She parked the car in front of the bar. After parking the car, the doorman came up and opened the door for Meng Yao and Yushu. Ladies, welcome to the Awesome Floating Cloud Bar. Do you have a reservation? No. Meng Yao said, shaking her head after locking the car. Then please follow me. The doorman nodded with a smile as he led the two into the bar. This was a typical European-style bar, with a strong European and American village feel, but not lacking in luxury. It seemed like the owner of this place had invested quite a lot in it. Meng Yao and Yushu rarely came to places like this, so they were very curious. The first floor was a dance hall with a bar counter and a booth. In the middle of the hall was a stage, and two foreign girls were singing on it. They weren't wearing very revealing clothes. It was only 7 at night, it was still early, and it wasn't time for erotic dancing yet. The performances on the stage were more formal as well. Would you like to sit at the bar counter or at the booth? The doorman was an experienced man, and he could tell that this was the two's first time here from the way they were looking at the bar curiously. Regular customers found their own seats the moment they came in. They didn't need the doorman to lead them at all. Can you give us a quiet booth? Meng Yao really wanted to see a few people drinking at the bar counter on TV, but it was her first time here, after all. She didn't dare to do so. All right, please follow me. The doorman handed Meng Yao and Yushu over to the waiters in the lobby before returning to the bar. The waiter brought Meng Yao and Yushu to a booth on the side, a smile on his face. "Is this place okay?" "It's okay, let's do it here then." Meng Yao nodded as she sat down with Yushu. A booth at a corner like this wasn't a place people would choose to drink alone unless they were in a bad mood. Even if they were drinking alone, most of them would sit alone at the bar counter. It seemed like these two girls were really here for the first time. The receptionist sighed softly. Pure, innocent girls like them actually came to a bar. Didn't they know that there were a lot of wolves here, picking on girls like them? As for the girls who hung out in bars, it was hard to say who would get to play with them. It was very likely that they'd spend a lot of money and wouldn't even get to touch the girls. As a result, the wolves all focused their attention on girls like Meng Yao and Yushu, and dozens of pairs of eyes stared at them as soon as they entered the bar. But, seeing how Meng Yao and Yushu were behaving, some of the kind-hearted ones went to ask around and found out that the two came in an Audi S5. Most of the poor wolves gave up. After all, they knew that they were rich girls, and they didn't think that they had what it took to touch them. Some of the wolves with a bit of family background, on the other hand, didn't dare approach them without knowing what was going on. They just watched, waiting for the first person to hit the wall. Lin Yi parked the Beetle next to Meng Yao's Audi S5, and the doorman didn't say much when he saw that Lin Yi was alone. "Welcome, sir." There were plenty of young masters who came here alone every day, and the doorman thought that Lin Yi was here for the same reason. He didn't explain too much as he opened the door for Lin Yi and sent him into the bar. Lin Yi turned around to look at the door as he entered, a thoughtful smile on his face. Chapter 153. Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi ordered a glass of red wine, but didn't drink it. He put it on the table and looked at the people in the bar. He wasn't here to drink, but the waiters would definitely give him a hard time if he didn't order anything. "Hey handsome, is there anyone here?" Lin Yi asked as he watched Meng Yao and Yushu from the corner of his eyes. Someone walked over to Lin Yi's table all of a sudden. Lin Yi raised his head to see a 27 or 28-year-old, dressed elegantly. The light in the bar was dim, but one could still see the woman's good figure and perfect facial contours. This was undoubtedly a woman with a lot of money, and she was even more alluring and captivating compared to Meng Yao, Yushu, and Tang Yun. The woman's eyes flashed with cunningness, and one could tell that she was a veteran who frequented bars. Lin Yi, naturally, wasn't dumb enough to think that this beautiful woman had taken a liking to him. Not at the moment. Lin Yi said calmly as he moved his eyes away from the woman, not looking at her again. Sun Jingyi paused, not expecting Lin Yi to be this cold. She'd thought about it carefully before choosing Lin Yi as her target. As far as she was concerned, Lin Yi was one of the perverts who'd come here to hunt for beauties. His face looked a little young, and he didn't look like a veteran at all. Jingyi was confident that she'd be able to take him down with her charms. She'd be able to get him to run circles around her, and it'd be easy for him to do some things for her. But she didn't think that Lin Yi's attitude towards her would be so cold, as if he didn't see her as a threat at all. Sun Jingyi was a little annoyed. Did Lin Yi like that kind of immature woman? It wasn't too late, and there weren't many people in the bar. Lin Yi's table was a little far from the center of the stage, and it was one of the worst seats. Other than Meng Yao and Yushu's table, there weren't any other customers. Naturally, Sun Jingyi assumed that Lin Yi's target was Meng Yao and Yushu. She couldn't compare to two immature girls. Sun Jingyi's eyes were as sharp as a sun. Meng Yao and Yushu had changed their clothes, but she could still tell that they were young, probably in school. "Aren't you going to invite me to sit?" Sun Jingyi said with a smile as she held back her anger. "Ah." Lin Yi smiled faintly. "I don't own the bar. It's not like I can kick you out, right?" "Handsome, the way you talk is quite interesting." How could Sun Jingyi not hear the respectful tone in Lin Yi's words? But she still sat in front of Lin. Time waits for no man, and it was really difficult for her to find a harmless-looking man like Lin Yi in this bar. She just got rid of one trouble, and another trouble came knocking on her door. "Handsome, your target is the two little beauties at that table, right?" When Sun Jingyi said that, she pouted at Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin Yi glanced at Sun Jingyi and didn't answer her question. "If you have something to say, just say it. I don't like to beat around the bush." Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi in surprise. She didn't expect Lin Yi to see that she had something to do here, and she didn't just come here to sit. Sun Jingyi frowned slightly. She felt that Lin Yi wasn't as harmless as he looked on the surface. This person didn't seem to be that simple. Then, was it the right choice for her to choose him? Handsome, can you do me a favor? Sun Jingyi was already sitting here, and there was no other way. No matter whether choosing Lin Yi was the right choice or not, she could only bite the bullet and continue. What's your name? Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi and asked. Sun Jingyi didn't expect that the handsome guy in front of her didn't play by the rules at all. His answers were always irrelevant, and then he asked another question. Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi hesitated and said her name. Don't call me handsome, my name is Lin. When Sun Jingyi was talking, Lin Yi kept looking at her eyes. If she was lying, Lin Yi would be able to detect it from the subtle fluctuations in her eyes. The reason why he asked Sun Jingyi's name was because he wanted to confirm whether the woman in front of him was trustworthy. If she was lying, Lin Yi wouldn't care how beautiful she was, and he would kick her out as soon as possible. Lin Yi didn't have the time to waste with this kind of bullshit. However, Sun Jingyi didn't lie, so Lin Yi naturally let the conversation continue. Sun Jingyi didn't expect Lin Yi to tell her his name so readily. While she was surprised, she was even more unable to see through the man in front of her. If she said that he was here to chase after women, it didn't seem like it. Could it be that he was deliberately pretending to be cool to attract their attention? Well, Lin Yi, how about doing me a favor? Sun Jingyi didn't care whether Lin Yi was really like this or pretending to be cool. It didn't matter. The important thing was to get through this. What favor? Lin Yi asked. Be my boyfriend. Sun Jingyi said. Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi up and down. Are you sick? Love at first sight? Sun Jingyi blushed and quickly added, it's temporary. Just for a while, okay? Oh, a shield? Why didn't you say so earlier? Lin immediately understood Sun Jingyi's meaning. This wasn't the first time he had done something like this. The reason he was brought here by Chu First Miss was to be her shield, even though he hadn't really gotten into the role yet. I thought you were a love-struck fool. Sun Jingyi was speechless. Only the man in front of her could say such sarcasm. It turns out that women can get so angry when they are ignored. Sun Jingyi had the urge to kick Lin Yi to death. If not for the fact that time was tight and she needed Lin Yi's help, Sun Jingyi would have left long ago. And, it's great that you understand. Cooperate with me later. You don't have to say anything, I'll handle everything, Sun Jingyi said. Once this is done, I'll treat you to a feast. There's no need for a feast. Just give me some money. I don't have time. Lin Yi was speaking the truth. After this was done, he still had to escort the two misses home. How would he have the time to eat a feast? If Chu Mengyao knew about this, wouldn't she explode? Sun Jingyi really didn't know how to describe Lin Yi. Was he blind? When he was looking her up and down just now, he purposely looked at her chest greedily. However, he rejected the opportunity to have a meal with her alone, and asked her for money. Was he acting cool or... Sun Jingyi now felt that the possibility of Lin Yi acting cool was very low. It wasn't like Sun Jingyi had never met people who intentionally acted cool. She knew very well how attractive her appearance, figure, and charm were. Chapter 154. The professional shield men like this were usually very gentlemanly and polite, but there was a certain indifference in their attitude, purposely ignoring Sun Jingyi's charms in order to get her attention. But it was the first time she'd met a man like Lin Yi, who'd just exchange a feast for money. This wasn't just putting on an act, it meant that Lin Yi didn't want to have anything to do with her in the first place. As far as he was concerned, a feast wasn't as good as money. Sun Jingyi was a little annoyed at the thought. Was there something wrong with this guy's brain? He only liked those two girls? She wasn't as good as they were? It was the first time Sun Jingyi had suffered such a blow. She was even regretting her decision to work with someone like this. Of course. Sun Jingyi said, forcing herself to remain calm. I'll give you 1,000 kuai if you succeed. What do you think? Lin Yi nodded. Wouldn't he be an idiot if he didn't take the money? Lin Yi, on the other hand, realized that he had the potential to be a shield. He could open a shield company if he lost his job, and he wouldn't have to starve to death. Mengyao and Yushu, naturally, saw Sun Jingyi sitting down at Lin Yi's table. It was too noisy in the bar, and they couldn't hear what they were saying. "Shu, what's this guy trying to do? Who's that woman?" Meng Yao frowned as she glanced at Lin Yi's table. She had to admit that the woman was very attractive. Even Meng Yao was impressed by her attractiveness. "I don't know, but it looks like she's trying to hit on Shield Bro?" Yushu couldn't hear the conversation between Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi either. "Miss?" Meng Yao asked, taking a look at Sun Jingyi's temperament. She didn't seem like one of those prostitutes. "Maybe." Yushu wasn't too sure either. "Let's see, it looks pretty fun." "Oh look, there's a guy a little less handsome than Shield Bro coming over. Looks like he's looking for trouble." Meng Yao followed Yushu's gaze and saw a man walking towards Lin. "He's here. You must cooperate with me." Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi nervously. "No problem." Lin didn't care at all. "Jin Yi, why did you come in while I was paying the fare?" A handsome man in a high-end casual Armani suit said as he quickly walked over. Although the man's pace was very fast, he did not lose his gentlemanly demeanor. At first glance, one could tell that he was the kind of noble son who had a good upbringing. This kind of natural bearing was very difficult to cultivate. Of course, Lin Yi was an exception. He could pretend. During a mission, you had to blend in with different characters as fast as you could, and you had to do it flawlessly. Death was the only thing that awaited you otherwise. Lin Yi looked at the man indifferently, not saying a word. Sun Jingyi had already said that he didn't need to say anything. But there was one thing Sun Jingyi wasn't lying about. Her name was indeed Jin. "Qiantian, didn't I tell you that my boyfriend is waiting for me here? What are you doing here?" Sun Jingyi said with a slight frown. "Jin Yi, I think you know what uncle and aunt mean. I came to Songshan to ask for their permission, and they asked me to come here to take care of you." The man called Qiantian didn't get angry, not even looking at Lin. It was almost as if he was ignoring him. "Qiantian, I think you don't get it. I've made it very clear that I have a boyfriend. If it's just the care and concern of an older brother, I'll be more than happy to accept it." Sun Jingyi replied faintly. "Let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend Lin." "Jin Yi, I don't care if you had a boyfriend or not. I don't care about that. I've been studying abroad for so many years, you have the right to live your own life," Qiantian said. "But now, I hope that we can start anew. This is what my parents want, and what your parents want as well. I think you understand?" "Ah, that's funny." Sun Jingyi curled her lips. "Qiantian, don't you think that's funny? What does it have to do with me whether you go abroad or not? Our families were family friends before you went abroad, and we're still siblings. What's the difference? Not to mention all this nonsense about starting anew. So, he's your boyfriend Genie?" Qiantian changed the topic to Lin Yi after seeing Sun Jingyi's attitude. If he hadn't brought up Lin Yi all of a sudden, people would have thought that he hadn't noticed Lin Yi's presence at all. Sun Jingyi nodded. "You saw and believed me. Can you leave now?" "Ah." Qiantian smiled and extended his hand to Lin Yi. "Oh, brother. I'm Qiantian." Lin Yi reached his hand out and shook Qiantian's hand. Just as he was about to let go, he felt a strong force clamping down on his palm. This Qiantian really wasn't satisfied yet. He was looking for trouble. But Lin Yi didn't retaliate, letting him do as he pleased. Back when his Shifu made him punch trees with his bare hands, Lin Yi didn't feel any pain like this anymore. Plus, the art of dragon mastery had successfully broken through the first stage, and was now at the peak of the first stage. Breaking through and not breaking through were two completely different concepts. Lin Yi's entire body had changed noticeably, and his body's coordination had reached unprecedented perfection. If he'd been in the same situation as last time, he might have been able to handle it without getting injured. But that injury was mostly due to the nurse behind him, Guan Xen, as well as confusing the robbers. After all, how strong could a person who'd been shot be? As a result, the bones in Lin Yi's palm didn't hurt at all, even though Qiantian's grip had changed the shape of his bones. His body structure had changed, and the flexibility of his bones was different from a normal person's. Qiantian had no choice but to let go after realizing that it didn't work. It wasn't like he'd be able to hold the guy's hand for too long. Of course, Chen Tian didn't think that it was completely ineffective. His family's martial arts were all focused on the hands, and while he didn't use any of his family's martial arts when he pinched Lin, Chen Tian was very confident in his own hand strength. As far as he could see, it wasn't that Lin didn't feel pain, but that he had a high tolerance level and was just pretending to be fine. He just didn't want to lose face in front of Sun Jingyi. Chapter 155. Treacherous. One had to admit, Chen Tian was a treacherous person. He wanted to mess with Lin Yi, but he didn't want Sun Jingyi to see through him. He was the kind of person who was treacherous. "You don't mind if I join you, do you?" Chen Tian said, but he'd already pulled out a chair and sat next to Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi's table. It was a table for two, but an extra chair wasn't a problem. The atmosphere at the table grew a little awkward with Chen Tian's presence. Jingyi and Lin Yi didn't know each other in the first place, so she didn't dare say too much, afraid that Chen Tian would find out if she did. Chen Tian had wanted to mess with Lin Yi earlier, but hadn't succeeded. He was a little annoyed that he'd kill him if Sun Jingyi wasn't here. "Huh, where'd you get rich from, brother?" Chen Tian found a topic to talk about since no one was talking. He wanted to find out more about Lin Yi's background. Chen Tian was feeling really down today. He'd flown all the way to Songshan to be able to spend time with Sun Jingyi, but Sun Jingyi had used the excuse of having a boyfriend as soon as he'd suggested it. He'd thought that she was just brushing him off, and naturally, Chen Tian didn't believe her. He kept on trying to convince her, and Jingyi, on the other hand, told him that her boyfriend was waiting for her at the bar. She didn't think that Chen Tian would be so shameless as to follow her. Sun Jingyi had an idea in the heat of the moment, so she dragged Lin Yi along. Chen Tian hadn't been back in the country for long, so he didn't know much about Sun Jingyi's life in Songshan. He couldn't be sure that she had a boyfriend, so he could only investigate carefully. No need to get rich. Lin Yi's impression of Chen Tian had taken a nosedive. He hadn't wanted to get involved in his relationship with Sun Jingyi, but Lin Yi wasn't going to hold back now that the guy was trying to intimidate him. Don't need to get rich? Chen Tian didn't quite understand what Lin Yi meant by "don't need to get rich." Did he mean that his family was rich and didn't need to earn money? The clothes he was wearing weren't too good either. They were all cheap street stalls. Could it be that this kid was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Wu Chen Tian, Jingyi's childhood friend. Chen Tian nodded to Lin Yi, extending his hand again. There's no need for a handshake. You almost killed me just now. Lin Yi had no intention of extending his hand this time. All right, you're done with your self-introduction. Can you go now? Do you know that you're blocking my view of the performance by sitting here? Sun Jingyi frowned at Lin Yi's words and glared at Chen Tian. Chen Tian was from House Wu, and he was known for his hand techniques. His iron hands were said to be from Shaolin's iron palm. Sun Jingyi knew the ins and outs of House Wu, and naturally knew how strong Chen Tian's hands were. She understood that Chen Tian had done something to his handshake after hearing what Lin Yi said. Motherfucker! How cunning! Chen Tian's face turned ugly and awkward. He cursed Lin Yi in his heart for being too cunning. He didn't say anything when he was being squeezed, acting like he could tolerate it. If he had yelled and screamed when he was being squeezed, even if Sun Jingyi knew that she had done something to him, she'd still lose some respect for Lin Yi. How could a weak man like him protect his woman? If he screamed and screamed at the slightest bit of pain, how could he entrust the rest of his life to her? But Lin Yi didn't. He'd tolerated it very naturally, and now he brought it up again. It was obvious that he was taking revenge. But Chen Tian couldn't do anything about it. He was the one who initiated the second handshake, and Lin Yi was the one who took advantage of it. If he took advantage of it again, Lin Yi wouldn't be an idiot. It was normal for him to reject it and mock him. This way, although Lin Yi exposed his actions, he did it using the second handshake as an excuse. He didn't have any intention of complaining at all. You must be joking, Mr. Lin. My hand strength might be a little too strong. I'm used to it, and I couldn't control it properly when shaking hands with normal people. Chen Tian's meaning was clear. Lin Yi was just a normal person, and he didn't deserve to be with Sun Jingyi. Oh, so that's how it is. Lin Yi nodded. It seems that I've misunderstood you, Mr. Wu. To apologize, I've decided to shake your hand again. With that, Lin Yi extended his hand. HM? Chen Tian paused. He didn't think that Lin Yi would agree to shake his hand again. What was going on? But no matter what, Lin Yi was already like this, and he couldn't lose face. He extended his hand as well and shook Lin Yi's hand. Ouch! Chen Yun felt an unparalleled pain from his hand. Looking at the smile on Lin Yi's face, Chen Tian knew that the kid had taken his revenge on him. Chen Tian was caught off guard when Lin Yi squeezed his hand, and he cried out subconsciously. How many years had it been since his hand was this painful? That was why Chen Tian cried out. Of course, he didn't think too much about it. He blamed the pain on Lin Yi's sudden counterattack, catching him off guard. That was why his hand hurt so much. He didn't think that a normal person, no matter how much strength he used, could pinch his hand like this. But the anger had already gotten to his head. He didn't think that he, the heir of House Wu's iron hand, would have his hand pinched by a nobody. This was a huge humiliation. Chen Tian was about to retaliate when Lin Yi let go of his hand, looking at him strangely. What's wrong? Did I hurt you? I didn't use any strength. Sun Jingyi looked at Chen Tian with disdain. What was this? Lin Yi said that he hurt his hand, and you cried out in surprise. Did you want me to think that Lin Yi hurt your hand as well? But who would believe that? House Wu's iron hand was hurt by a normal person? Sun Jingyi didn't believe it. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that this Wu Chen Tian was a hypocrite. She didn't have much contact with him before, and she thought he was a polite person, treating him like an older brother. But ever since he started pursuing her, Jingyi found him more and more annoying. Chen Tian really wanted to slap Lin Yi in the face. Wasn't this kid too much? Wu Chen Tian, don't you think that what you're doing is no different from a clown? Sun Jingyi frowned as she looked at Chen Tian. Uncle Wu will be very disappointed if he knows what you're doing. Chapter 156. Who the hell was this guy? Brother, you've got some tricks up your sleeve? Chen Tian patted Lin Yi on the shoulder. I've learned a lot from you, bro. We'll meet again in the future. Ha! Lin Yi looked at Chen Tian, a faint smile on his lips. I have a lot of tricks up my sleeves. You can take your time to see them. Sun Jingyi frowned at Chen Tian's actions. She wanted to warn Lin Yi, but she wasn't too sure. Considering the relationship between the Wu and Sons, Sun Jingyi couldn't just go against Chen Tian's face in public. If word got out to the elders, it'd look like she was helping an outsider. And so, Sun Jingyi was in a difficult position. He didn't want Lin Yi to lose anything, but he also wasn't sure if Chen Tian had done something to Lin Yi. Chen Tian humphed, naturally treating Lin Yi's words as mere pleasantries. He'd achieved his goal, and naturally wouldn't stay any longer. He quickly walked out of the bar, planning to get someone to investigate Lin Yi's background. He wanted to see who this kid was before making a decision. Chen Tian walked to the entrance of the bar and took out a wallet. He opened it and saw that there was only 800 and 1,000 kuai in it. There wasn't anything else, not even an ID. Fuck, what a poor bastard. Chen Tian cursed under his breath. He'd wanted to look at Lin Yi's ID and investigate his background from the address and number, but it seemed like he'd have to give up on that idea. This wallet was probably bought from a street stall for a few kuai, right? Chen Tian looked at the workmanship and material of the wallet, speechless. Why would Sun Jingyi like someone with a family like this? Are you kidding me? Could it be a temporary colleague or something like that? The wallet was, of course, Lin Yi's. Before Chen Tian left, he patted Lin Yi's shoulder and said a few pleasantries, taking the wallet with him as he spoke. With the Wu family's iron hands, stealing a wallet was a piece of cake. The Wu family trained in the speed of their hands, so petty theft was a piece of cake for them. It was even a little overkill. Here's your tip. Chen Tian took out a stack of money from Lin Yi's wallet and gave it to the doorman. Tip, I'm Lin Yi. Thank you, Brother Lin. Brother Lin, you're so generous. The bellboy was shocked as he took the tip from Chen Tian's hand. There were plenty of rich people here, and some of them tipped the bellboys as well, but 50 or 100 was already good enough. They weren't like the beer girls or the room princesses who tipped a lot, and they didn't get much at all. But Chen Tian gave him 1,800 in one go, and it was a lot, so the bellboy bowed to Chen Tian in gratitude. Kaka. Chen Tian felt a wave of satisfaction wash over him. Lin Yi, let's see how you pay later. You won't ask a woman to pay, will you? You'll lose face if you do that, Kaka. Thinking about how Lin Yi would lose face soon, Qiantian's gloominess was swept away. He hummed a tune as he hailed a taxi. He just came to Songshan, and he didn't have a car yet, so he always took taxis. He threw Lin Yi's wallet on the ground. Naturally, he didn't care about such a small amount of money. He just wanted to make Lin Yi lose face. As for tipping it to the bellboy, it was just to satisfy his own sense of humor and disgust Lin Yi a little. After Qiantian left, Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi apologetically. See if you lost anything, lost something? Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi, thinking that this girl wasn't that bad after all. She knew to remind him, but he acted like he didn't know. What did you lose? Something like a wallet, Jingyi said. Wu Qiantian's a little narrow-minded. He patted you a few times before he left, and I'm not sure if he did anything to you or not. Oh? Then why didn't you remind me before? Lin Yi smiled at Sun Jingyi. We're family friends. I couldn't say no to him in front of everyone, and it wouldn't be nice if my parents heard about it. Sun Jingyi was a little troubled. But it's okay, I'll compensate you for what you lost. Ha! Lin Yi felt that Sun Jingyi had a good heart. At least she was willing to take the loss. Aren't you afraid that I'll ask for too much? Sun Jingyi was a little embarrassed by Lin Yi's question. She was usually a strong woman, but today she lost again and again in front of Lin. The main reason was that Sun Jingyi realized that Lin Yi seemed to ignore her charm. You don't seem like that kind of person. Sun Jingyi was only embarrassed for a moment, but she quickly recovered. Her big eyes sparkled as she looked at Lin. It was very seductive. Congratulations, you guessed wrong. Lin Yi shrugged. Ah. Sun Jingyi was speechless. She really regretted her choice today. Could it be that she met someone even more difficult to deal with? But I didn't lose anything this time, so you don't have to compensate me. Lin Yi laughed and took out a high-end wallet. Someone exchanged a big wallet for a small wallet. TSK, there's even US dollars. That's a lot of money. Oh, what's this? ID? Wu Qiantian? The photo looks like a funeral portrait. No wonder he's so unlucky. Sun Jingyi heard what Lin Yi said. She was about to say something when she saw him take out a wallet. When Lin Yi said that he exchanged a big wallet for a small wallet, Sun Jingyi felt that something was wrong. Then, Lin Yi took out an ID and called out Wu Qiantian's name. Sun Jingyi covered her mouth in shock and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He actually held Wu Qiantian's wallet in his hand? When was it? Was it when Wu Qiantian took his wallet? What kind of speed was that? She didn't even see it? What was even more unbelievable was that Wu Qiantian didn't feel anything. If it was said that Wu Qiantian took Lin Yi's wallet and Lin Yi didn't notice, Sun Jingyi would believe it. But if it was said that Lin Yi took Wu Qiantian's wallet and Wu Qiantian didn't notice, Sun Jingyi wouldn't believe it. House Wu's iron hands trained in speed. It wasn't a big deal for him to steal Lin Yi's wallet. But from what Lin Yi said, it seemed like he knew that Wu Qiantian had taken his wallet, and he even took Wu Qiantian's wallet. Sun Jingyi was speechless. Just who was this person sitting in front of her? Was he a normal person? Who are you? Sun Jingyi couldn't help but look Lin Yi in the eye. She regretted dragging Lin Yi into this. It seemed like Lin Yi wasn't someone who was easy to deal with. The guy had been pretending to be weak all this time. Chapter 157. The Great Bandit. Hey handsome, tell me, I'm really curious about you. Sun Jingyi said, gritting her teeth. Was he still thinking about that 1,000 kuai? She'd taken a peek at Qiantian's wallet, and there were at least tens of thousands of USD and some RMB. But Sun Jingyi was really curious as to who Lin Yi was. She'd bumped into a really powerful person in the bar, one that was even more powerful than Qiantian. The more Lin Yi didn't say, the more Sun Jingyi wanted to know. Sometimes, a woman's curiosity was limitless. Lin Yi looked at the alluring Sun Jingyi, and he had to admit that Sun Jingyi had moved Lin Yi quite a bit. She was a femme fatale. But Lin Yi was sure that Sun Jingyi's mature charm was faked. A woman in her late 20s wasn't considered mature yet, and Sun Jingyi seemed to be dressing up maturely as well. It was still unknown if she was even in her late 20s. From the conversation between Sun Jingyi and Qiantian, Lin Yi was sure that Sun Jingyi wasn't that old. Perhaps it was because she was in the workplace, and she was purposely making herself look older. Do you usually talk to your boss and clients like this? Lin Yi asked, feeling a bit unnatural from Sun Jingyi's voice. Sun Jingyi blinked, blushing as she realized that she'd started acting like a spoiled brat. Every woman knew how to do that, and even if they didn't, there were a lot of them in the movies. But Sun Jingyi wasn't the type to do that, or else she wouldn't have dressed herself up like an experienced woman, acting like a spoiled brat to a client, and getting some business done. Sun Jingyi didn't look like a spoiled brat. But this time, Sun Jingyi was in a hurry to find out about Lin. She'd unknowingly used this kind of tone. It made Sun Jingyi a bit embarrassed, but the lights in the bar were dim, and Lin Yi couldn't see her blush. Handsome, do you think I'm that kind of person? Sun Jingyi saw Lin Yi naturally treating him as a prostitute. After all, Lin didn't look that big, and she couldn't put up her guard against him. It doesn't seem like it, but it's hard to say, said Lin Yi bluntly. How about this, handsome? You tell your sister what you do. In the future, your sister will only talk to you like this, okay? Sun Jingyi wasn't usually such a person, but now she was particularly curious about Lin. Moreover, Lin Yi's age shouldn't be very old. She would just treat it as coaxing a child. She wouldn't suffer a loss. Do you really want to know? Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi with a smile that wasn't a smile. Sun Jingyi nodded. Well, then I'll tell you. Don't tell anyone. Lin Yi restored a serious expression. I won't say it. Sun Jingyi nodded subconsciously. Actually, I'm a great thief. Lin Yi lowered his voice. I've already retired, ugh. Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi incredulously. She felt that something was wrong. However, when she saw Lin Yi's serious look, it didn't seem like he was lying. She was a little skeptical. Really? But don't worry. I promised you that I won't tell anyone. And then you give me 1,000 yuan, and then you can go. Lin Yi nodded. Sun Jingyi didn't break her promise. She took out her wallet, took out 10 bills, and handed them to Lin. Lin Yi didn't count them and took them directly. You don't want to leave me your phone number? Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi didn't speak after receiving the money. She was a little annoyed. Generally, men will take the initiative to ask for my phone number, right? Even if she didn't give it to him, he'd force his phone number to her. It seemed that her charm wasn't as attractive as those two young girls to Lin Yi. 152XXXX1234. Lin Yi gave her his phone number. Remember to prepare the money before you call. The waiter was walking over when Lin Yi said that. He was about to put the chair Wuxia and Xianxia had moved over when he heard what Lin Yi said. He was speechless when he saw the stack of bills in Lin Yi's hand. So this guy was a pretty boy. He looked at Sun Jingyi and didn't know what to say. She was so pretty, did she have to do this? She just needed to wave her finger and there would be countless men lining up. And she even had to spend money. Sun Jingyi blushed a little under the waiter's stare. She knew that he misunderstood. She glared at Lin Yi angrily and left in a hurry. Looking at that cocky expression on Lin Yi's face, the waiter thought to himself, did this guy have some sort of godly skill? She'd never been so embarrassed in front of a man, but today, she'd fallen for a boy younger than her who didn't play by the rules. It made Sun Jingyi lose a lot of face. But no matter what, Lin Yi did help her get rid of Wuxia and Xianxia. Although it was only for a while, Xianxia would come back in a few days. She'd still be able to hide for as long as she could. At that moment, a certain unlucky guy was sweating profusely as he flipped through his clothes. Wait a minute, he remembered that he'd brought his wallet with him when he left. Why was it gone? Do you have money or not? You look so refined. Are you trying to renege on your debt? The taxi driver said impatiently. Bro, I forgot my wallet. It's in the hotel room. I'll go get it and pay you later, okay? Xianxia cursed his unluck. He wouldn't have given Lin Yi's money to the doorman if he knew this was going to happen. He could have just left 100 behind. Are you kidding me? You think you can come back after you go up? Where am I supposed to find you? The taxi driver didn't believe Xianxia. Call your friend to send the money, or don't leave. Xianxia was new to Songshan, and he didn't know anyone here. Who would he know? Bro, why don't you come with me upstairs to get the money? Come with you? Are you kidding me? What if someone ambushes me up there? The taxi driver wasn't stupid. Plus, it's forbidden to park here for long periods of time. What if the police come and give us a ticket? Don't waste time, call them now. Alright. Xianxian was speechless. He dialed Sun Jingyi's number. Jingyi's phone rang just as she walked out of the bar. She looked at the caller ID and saw that it was Wu Xianxian. Sun Jingyi didn't expect this guy to call her so soon after she left. She hung up impatiently and saved the number Lin Yi gave her in her phone. Chapter 158. Why can't we? Jingyi, I took a taxi and forgot my wallet to pay the bill. Please save me, I'm in front of the hotel. Xianxian said quickly, afraid that Sun Jingyi would hang up on him. Jingyi heard Xianxian's words, and her heart almost bloomed with joy. You didn't bring your wallet? You didn't bring your wallet, did you? Your wallet is in Lin Yi's hands. But wasn't Lin Yi's wallet with Xianxian? How could he not have the money to pay the bill? At that thought, Sun Jingyi pretended to be angry. Wu Xianxian, stop acting like a clown. You took Lin Yi's wallet, didn't you? How could you not have the money to pay the bill? That money. I tipped it to the doorman. Xianxian said, feeling wronged. Do you think I'd believe that? Sun Jingyi said, feeling good. Who told you to be so cocky? You're good now, aren't you? I'm busy. Bye. Sun Jingyi hung up without hesitation and turned off her phone, leaving Xianxian to his own devices. Jingyi? Jingyi? Xianxian called out a couple of times, but the phone was already hung up. He called again, only to hear a notification saying, the number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Xianxian wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Master, bro, you saw it? My friend doesn't believe me. Xianxian said bitterly. Stop pretending, I don't even know if you called him or not, and you tipped him to the doorman. You're lying, keep lying. The taxi driver said with disdain. I've seen too many liars like you. Do you want to talk to the police? Don't. Bro, let me think about it. Xianxian quickly waved his hands. It'd be too embarrassing if people knew that the young master of House Wu couldn't afford a taxi fare if he went to the police station for something like this. The only person he knew in Songjiang was Sun Jingyi. All of a sudden, Xianxian remembered that his aunt and uncle seemed to have brought grandpa here for treatment. But he'd just come back and didn't remember their phone number. It'd be embarrassing if he called home to ask about something like this. With that in mind, Xianxian could only say, Bro, look at this phone of mine, it's an iPhone 4, and it cost 4,000 to 5,000 when I bought it. Why don't I give it to you as a fare? Apple 4? The driver looked at Xianxian's phone. Is this for real? Knockoffs are worth around 200 to 300 yuan. It's already pretty good if a second-hand one is worth a few dozen yuan. Bro, this is the real deal. Take a look if you don't believe me. Xianxian said as he handed the phone to the driver. The taxi driver fiddled with it for a long time before nodding reluctantly. I'll believe you for the time being. That's all. You can go now. Xianxian got out of the car with endless humiliation. When had he ever been so down and out? Fuck, it was all because of that Lin Yi bastard. He needed to investigate him and teach him a lesson. Some people were unlucky because of their own reasons, but they just had to put the blame on others. Xianxian was one of those people. He felt that if it wasn't for Lin Yi, his relationship with Sun Jingyi wouldn't have been this stiff, and he wouldn't have forgotten to bring his wallet either. Wait, that's not right. He paid for the cab when he went to the bar, and his wallet was still there. Could it be that he forgot it in the cab? At first, Meng Yao was still bothered by the fact that Lin Yi was hitting on an adult, but when Xianxian came, she started to see what was going on. Lin Yi was being used as a shield by that woman. Meng Yao breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, she was a little pissed off. What right did he have to do that? He was her shield, and now he was being used by another woman? What was going on? But Meng Yao couldn't do anything about it, and Yu Shu, on the other hand, looked like she was watching a good show. Meng Yao had no choice but to watch Lin Yi put on a show. She couldn't help but call Lin Yi a money grubber when she saw him take 1,000 kuai in the end. Yao, I think Shield Bro's really good. Yu Shu was a lot more observant than Meng Yao. That wallet in his hand, he got it from that guy in the suit. Meng Yao was a little speechless. You're quite observant, aren't you? Tell him to hand it over when we get home and confiscate all his illegal earnings. All right. Yushu nodded in agreement. I'll leave it to you then. Meng Yao gave the task to Yushu after seeing how enthusiastic she was. Yushu blinked. I say, Yao Yao, we haven't ordered anything to drink yet. We were just watching the show. Maybe we should get something to drink first? Once again, Yushu used her specialty to change the topic. All right. Meng Yao, of course, knew what Yushu was thinking. But she was just saying it casually. Meng Yao didn't care about that little bit of money Lin had. She only said that because she was angry at Lin. She didn't forget to make some extra money while she was protecting herself at night. Yushu called the waiter over and ordered a couple of drinks from the menu. They were all weird names, and the two had never been to a bar before. They didn't know if the drinks were good or not. The waiter noted down the two's orders, hesitating for a moment. It was obvious that this was the two's first time at a bar, and they didn't know what to make of the drinks. Is there anything else? Yushu looked at the waiter, puzzled. Did they have to pay in advance here? Ladies, do you need someone to chat with you? The waiter could tell that it was the two's first time, so he decided to give it a try. After all, there were quite a lot of people who came to the bar looking for male attendants. No need? Sure. Between Yushu and Meng Yao, one of them saying, no need, and the other saying, okay, took the waitress by surprise. Yao Yao. Yushu looked at Meng Yao, not understanding why the girl was looking for someone to chat with. Wasn't that a duck? Get us a handsome one. Meng Yao ordered the waiter. All right, please wait a moment. The waiter nodded and retreated respectfully. He thought to himself, these two innocent girls really came for this. It seems like you really can't judge a book by its cover, just like that pervert from before. And these two ladies. The waiter hated himself for not being handsome enough, or he'd have done it himself. Yao Yao, why did you call a handsome guy? Yushu was starting to panic after the waiter left. Yao Yao, you're not thinking of trying the special service, are you? You can't, you're still young. What if you bleed out? Chapter 159. Chapter 159, Confused Miss Look. Yushu realized that it was true after some thought. It seemed like Yao Yao was really jealous of Shield Bro. Why else would she come up with something like this? However, would this have any effect? Not long after, the waiter came over with a beautiful young man dressed in a creamy style. From the waiter's point of view, these girls did not like the kind of rough and fierce men. They all liked the more creamy, beautiful young men who had a bit of a Korean drama style. Excuse me, ladies. Is this to your liking? The waiter asked in a low voice. Meng Yao was speechless. How could someone like that piss off Linny? He wasn't even as good-looking as Linny. What kind of place was this? How embarrassing was it to be a gigolo with looks like this? No wonder that woman had gone to Lin Yi instead of the waiters. If you're satisfied, here's the price list. The waiter said as he handed Meng Yao a small piece of paper. All right, I got it. Meng Yao said, a little troubled as she pointed at the pretty boy. You sit there. With that, she sneaked a glance at Lin Yi, only to see Lin Yi still playing with the glass of red wine in his hand as if nothing had happened. The handsome man was overjoyed today. He saw Meng Yao and Yushu in front of him. These two were 1 in 10,000 beauties. He couldn't believe that something as good as this would happen to him, and he couldn't help but feel excited. Ladies, it looks like you're in school, right? The pretty man saw that Meng Yao wasn't talking and thought that she was shy, so he spoke first. Shut up. Will you die if you don't talk? Meng Yao said, a little annoyed at Lin Yi's attitude. Why wasn't he reacting at all when she called him a gigolo? But what kind of reaction was he supposed to have? Meng Yao was at a loss for a moment. Yeah, she was the miss and he was her follower. He was only responsible for taking care of her studies, occasionally acting as her temporary bodyguard and shield. He didn't have the right to interfere with her private life. Why the hell did she care about what he thought? What was she trying to do by calling a handsome guy over? Piss off Linny? But why did she have to anger him? Who was he to her? Would he be angry at her for doing this? Had he lost his mind? He actually did such an idiotic thing? Even if she went to get a room with this handsome guy, Lin Yi would only follow them from a distance, right? Meng Yao felt a little discouraged at the thought. He was really too stupid, so stupid that it was a little ridiculous. Anger Lin? Why did he have to anger him? While Meng Yao was hesitating, the pretty boy was feeling quite depressed as well. He'd thought that he'd be able to get his hands on the beauties tonight. Not to mention not paying, he'd be more than happy to give him change. These two were the best. But before he could realize his plan, he was shocked by Meng Yao's fierce roar. He sat there obediently. He really wanted to get a room with these two girls right now, but they were in a bar, and he didn't dare do anything rash. He was only here to chat with them. The perverts in the bar were all heartbroken to see Meng Yao and Yushu calling a male escort over. They didn't think that these two were here for some excitement. If they'd known, they wouldn't have called a male escort over, they'd have done it themselves. Most of the perverts, especially the good-looking ones, were all thumping their chests and stomping their feet. Lin Yi looked at Meng Yao and Yushu, not knowing what they were up to, calling a male escort over. If that was the case, they might as well have called him over, he'd be able to earn some extra money. He'd just made 1,000 kuai with Sun Jingyi, and he'd even gotten himself a big wallet. It seemed like this profession had a lot of potential. Behind the bar counter, in a dark room, a man was quietly watching the activity in the bar, his eyes never leaving Meng Yao's table and Lin Yi's. Meng Yao called that duck? The man looked at the manager, Su Jiaoneng, in disbelief. Yes, Xihua bro. Su Jiaoneng nodded carefully. I didn't think that Miss Chu would be into that sort of thing. No wonder she got herself a bodyguard. This man was the famous Xihua of Songshan, known as Xihua bro. He was a man who walked the line between black and white. However, anyone with a discerning eye would know that he was just a spokesperson pushed to the front. The one with the real power was the person behind him. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for someone like Xihua, who had no background, and was even a released convict, to make a name for himself in Songjiang was a very difficult thing to do. If it weren't for the person behind him, the police would have had their eyes on him a long time ago. Looks like Miss Chu doesn't like that pretty boy that much, Xihua said faintly as he watched Meng Yao ignore the male escort. Don't you see that table over there? That's Miss Chu's bodyguard. He's much better looking than that pretty boy. Should I get another one then? Jiaoneng asked carefully. It's fine, they're probably just here for a taste. Xihua thought lewdly. It seemed that this Meng Yao girl was quite the slut, having a man at home and coming out to mess around, even bringing a sugar daddy with her. What a pity for that man. What was that man's name again? Rightland? It seemed like he'd have to have a good talk with him, so that he wouldn't ruin his plans. Xihua bro, what do we do now? Jiaoneng didn't know how to respond to Xihua bro's words. He didn't know much about the higher-ups, and all he had to do was follow Xihua's orders. Let's go to Miss Chu's place and test out Lin Yi's skills. I'll show up after that, Xihua said after some thought. All right. Jiaoneng nodded and left. He was very familiar with this sort of thing. Meng Yao felt like an idiot. She didn't know what was wrong with her, ordering a duck. Her dad would be very, very disappointed in her if he knew about this. And Faubert and her classmates. How embarrassing. Meng Yao was pissed when she saw Lin Yi having fun with the pretty girl. She'd nodded in agreement when the waitress asked, but it was too late for regrets now. Meng Yao had calmed down from her daze. Lin Yi was only her follower. Why would he be angry? Why would she piss him off? Could it be that Shu was telling the truth? She liked Lin Yi? How was that possible? Impossible. This guy was so annoying, and he was such a playboy. She'd be blind not to like him. Chapter 160. Chapter 160, The Waiting Man. Two beautiful ladies, may I have the honor of sitting here and treat you two to a drink? Meng Yao was lost in thought when she heard the voice beside her. She turned around to see a delicate man. Delicate meant that he was impeccable, and he didn't look like a pretty boy at all. The man had a nice body, tall and well-proportioned, with a handsome face that gave off a clean, classy feeling. He was wearing a casual suit, and the buttons on his shirt were unbuttoned naturally, giving off a cool vibe. Men like this could definitely be called lady killer. Meng Yao, however, wasn't interested in him at all. Her heart was in a mess, and now there was another troublemaker. She didn't know what to do with the gigolo from before. She rolled her eyes and pointed at the pretty boy. Don't you see that there's another man over there? Meng Yao's original intention was for the two to fight, but she didn't think that the pretty boy would stand up immediately after seeing the delicate guy, as if he was afraid of the delicate guy. He turned around and left without saying a word. That's... Meng Yao was speechless. What kind of person was this? Wasn't he a little too cowardly? How could someone like this be a gigolo? Miss, he's already given up his seat. The delicate guy smiled faintly as he sat down where the pretty boy had been. He raised his glass of red wine. "Want to have a drink?" Meng Yao wasn't an idiot. The pretty boy had given up his seat to the delicate guy like that, which meant that the delicate guy was a frequent visitor of this bar, and that the pretty boy knew him. The delicate guy clearly had some sort of power to him, or else the pretty boy wouldn't have turned around and left like that. She turned to Yushu, only to find that she was looking at her as well. It seemed that the two were thinking the same thing. This delicate guy wasn't easy to deal with. It was their first time at a bar, and they didn't want to cause any trouble. Peng Zhan would definitely give them a scolding. "I'm sorry we drove here." Meng Yao replied coldly, not wanting to talk to the delicate guy any longer. If he knew his place, he'd have left by now. Why didn't I see that? The delicate guy didn't seem to care about Meng Yao's displeasure at all. "That man who left earlier, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the male attendants here?" Meng Yao humphed when Yushu didn't say anything. This girl only knew how to go crazy with her at home, but when she was outside, she wouldn't make a sound when there was danger. Meng Yao was pissed off. "I think the two ladies are here to seek excitement, right?" The exquisite man was no longer as refined as before, and his words began to become explicit. Honest people don't resort to insinuations. Rather than spending money for excitement, why don't? Hee, I think I can satisfy your needs." "What did you say?" Meng Yao blushed. "What did he mean? I'm still a virgin, okay?" "Excitement my ass." She turned her body to the side, thinking that coming to the bar was a mistake. "Stop pretending. What's the point of pretending in front of me?" The exquisite man said as he reached out his hand to touch Meng Yao's shoulder, wanting to kiss her. Meng Yao panicked a little as she dodged. Yushu didn't expect the delicate guy to make a move like that, either. She turned to look at Lin. "HM? Where was Lin?" Slap. The delicate guy's hand was caught in midair before it could even touch Meng Yao. "That's right, stop pretending. Who sent you here? Tell the guy behind you to come out." Lin Yi said coldly as he grabbed the delicate guy's arm. The delicate guy had a delicate face, but he wasn't a pretty boy. On the contrary, he was very powerful. He was one of Tsihua's most trusted underlings, and his hands were stained with blood. Lin Yi could tell from the guy's aura, but normal people wouldn't be able to tell. This was also why Lin Yi grabbed the delicate guy as soon as he made his move. Who knew if he'd do anything to Meng Yao? The delicate guy's scalp went numb. He was talking nonsense to Meng Yao, but his eyes were on Lin Yi from the corner of his eyes. He'd noticed that Lin Yi didn't seem to care about what was going on here, and that was why he'd reached out to take advantage of Lin Yi. He didn't think that Lin Yi would appear behind him and grab his arm. The delicate guy was a master himself, and Lin Yi's speed allowed him to appear behind him without him noticing. This made the delicate guy break out in a cold sweat, fast. That was the delicate guy's only thought. He already had the strength of an early phase of the golden class, and compared to a normal person, he was much stronger. An early phase of the golden class already had the strength of a special ops soldier, but the delicate man could feel that Lin Yi's strength was above his. If he wasn't mistaken, Lin Yi should be at the middle phase of the golden class. Of course, this was just the delicate guy's guess. Lin Yi looked like he was just sitting there, doing nothing, but in fact, he'd been on high alert since the beginning. They left the villa area, and when they turned the corner, a black Buick was following them from afar. The Buick's tracking skills were very good, but it couldn't hide from Lin. This kind of tracking skill was good in the city, but it was useless in a battlefield. Of course, before the Buick did anything drastic, Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with it. It seemed like the Buick had been parked at the corner, waiting for an opportunity to follow them. There were 24-hour surveillance cameras in the villa area, so they could only stop at the corner of the villa area. When Yushu parked the car in front of the floating cloud bar, the Buick sped around the entrance without stopping. Lin Yi couldn't help but wonder. If these people were here to follow Meng Yao, then even if they didn't enter the bar, They should have parked their car near the bar, waiting for an opportunity to make their next move. But they didn't do that. Of course, Lainey didn't think that these people had nothing better to do, following them halfway and then going back. The only possibility was that they had people in the bar, and they didn't have to follow them anymore. But it was a bit of a coincidence that the bar Meng Yao and Yushu chose had their people in it. As a result, Lin Yi had been on high alert ever since he entered the bar. He didn't believe that the other party would let go of this opportunity so easily. He didn't want to use it to cause trouble.